Normally. Oh, there we are. We're live.
We are live. We had some good conversation for the last 10 minutes or so about, my family trips and Justin's confidence and all the stuff he does for fantasy football and how, all the, just the things that he does and why I invited him on the podcast today and why I like everything about what he does for the fantasy football community. So,
yeah. So, yeah, you probably met. So it's funny, actually. Should I tell the Tyler story? There's a story. I don't think I've ever told it on a live stream. You want to be the one who gets it?
Let's go.
All right. So Tyler's just a nickname. Like that. I just decided it's a long story, but essentially it was a joke. It was a joke. I went with my friends, like that. Tyler's not my real name. We just decided one day we're just meeting these new people and we're going to play a joke on them. We're just going to say that my name's Tyler. It'll be a joke because we all know each other, but we're meeting this like whole group of like 30 people. And we just keep up that joke for like the whole night. We never like break it and we don't tell them. We never told them. So eventually I just kind of didn't tell them. And then I felt awkward. Eventually the new group of people I met, I became close friends with them. So eventually I told them, but then kind of they just gotten so used to calling me Tyler. So I was just stuck. It stuck. Yeah. It never went away. And I just stuck with it. There are a lot of other stories I make up as for why it really happened. It's from Fight Club or whatever. Yeah. But no, that's the story. It was literally just a joke that we played on this new group of people we were meeting. And it just turned out that I ended up being a lot closer friends with the people I was meeting than the people I was playing the joke with. So it just, those are still some of my closer friends, or at least they were before the pandemic. That kind of broke up that friend group a little bit, but I hung out with them all the time and it just kind of stuck. So yeah, that's how that happened. But yeah, it's just a nickname. I go by it, but most of my family, even my mom calls me Tyler now.
Come on.
It's crazy, yeah. But I go by the triple so people can find me. Like people who knew me from high school or whatever. I want them to be able to Google me and still to come up. But yeah, that's the Tyler story. It's crazy. I don't think I've ever told that on a fantasy football podcast. Any podcast.
Justin's your real name then, or
yeah, that's my birth name. I also hate my middle name, so I am fine with just making this my name because I really dislike my middle name. Let's
go. Spill the beans now. What's your name? What's your middle name?
My middle name is Drew. I just hate it.
Andrew or Drew?
Drew.
Okay.
I just hate it. I've always hated my middle name, especially now that it's the same name as Drew Lock. But that doesn't help. But yeah, so I've just shifted it. I've thought about being really unlazy and going to the court and actually changing it, but that's a lot of effort. Yeah, so right. I probably never will, just because I learned how much that requires. That's I thought it would just be I fill out this form and they just change it. No, there's many forms and you have to get a new social security card. And I'm
and they all cost money.
Yeah. It does cost money. That's true. And I'm I'm fine with just having a nickname. I don't need to go, this is a little too much effort for me. But right. That's the whole story behind that. And eventually I changed my name on Twitter. I think it's before most people I know really followed me. It was I think last February or March. So it was right at, I had maybe less than 1,000 followers. So most people don't remember, but yeah, I changed my name on Twitter around then and it's just kind of stuck ever since. But yeah, it comes up from time to time from the people who knew me from the beginning. But yeah, you got your scoop on this show.
So there you go. Now I broke the news to everybody out there. So
yeah,
this is
a lot
fantastic.
Of people don't know that. Very few people do actually.
Well, I'll keep calling you Tyler. So
yeah, go for it.
No Drew, no nothing like that. No hazing you.
Can't remind me of Drew Lock. We just started.
Right. Perfect. Well, welcome to the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast. This is just me doing what I love to do while we're talking to some awesome fantasy minds. This is the most fun podcast that you're going to listen to right now. as far as I'm concerned. Today we'll talk to Tyler, Justin Karp, about his likes, dislikes, some of his settings he prefers in leagues he plays in, and some things he would like his commissioners to do, and then some players he likes late in rankings and ADP. And then, as usual, we'll evaluate a team to see what he recommends, or what he says to either rebuild or remodel a roster that we proposed today. And I want to apologize. I'm sorry to everyone for the unusually long delay since my last podcast, but I threw my wife and my 4 kids in my Ford Flex, and we racked up almost 6,000 miles in the last few weeks. We left the south suburbs of Plainfield, Illinois, and meandered through parts of Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and on to Florida, where my parents rented a house for us in Kissimmee. And that had 9 bedrooms, a game room, a theater room, tons of space for a huge living room for everybody to hang out, a huge kitchen, a pool, and a hot tub that were screened in. And it had other stuff to do. So my parents, my wife, my 4 kids, my brother Peter, his wife and 4 kids, my brother Andy, his wife and 3 kids, and all of us drank mixed drinks. And I drank Blue Moon for the whole week. And we ate homemade food, and we had some nice quality time.
That's a crazy party of people, though. That's like, you 19. Said... Yeah, I was trying to add it, but you did it for me. 19 people traveling around. I didn't know that. Like when you were explaining the story before, I didn't quite get, like, I thought it was just you and your family, but 19 people traveling all around. I don't think I've ever done anything like that.
Well, me and my people under my roof anyway. Like I said before in the show, I have a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old. I'm 16 and a 17-year-old. They're not that old yet. I don't want to. Those are my daughters, and then I have a boy in college who's a sophomore at University of Wisconsin Whitewater, and I have a son that has his own place. He works at Northwestern University in Evanston, so he's got his own place. Yeah, it's he works there. He's an operating engineer, building engineer. So he doesn't. If his kids go to school, they go to school for free there because he works there. That'd be a nice perk.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it'll be super nice. So it's the 6 of us do these road trips all the time. We've visited 42 of the 50 states already. So we've had a couple cars that have already had 250,000 miles on them. Every year we just kind of pick up around this time when spring break-ish area, right when the kids got out of school, somewhere around that area, and we just pick up and do a trip. I was telling you about the trip we took last time, down through New York and Niagara Falls and the East Coast, up and down the East Coast. And we haven't seen Vermont. We haven't seen Colorado. We haven't seen Alaska, Hawaii, North Dakota, Washington. And Vermont was weird because we came down the New York side one time.
You were close to it, right?
And then we went to a wedding in Boston that went all the way up to the corner to Maine. Like, what's in the corner up there? Maine, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So we saw all those, but Vermont's like right there, like a V kind of thing. So we missed Vermont. But
if you're looking for a geography expert, I would look elsewhere.
I always see those things like they have people from different countries that try and fill out the United States.
Oh boy!
And I'd be like, I do a pretty good job, but I get on the upper East Coast, I'm toast.
You've been to 42 of them,
and I've been to them all, and I could pretty much name almost all of them except for the East Coast because they're so small next to each other.
So small, like in that little space, it's so confusing, like what one state is and another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have not been to 42 states. I have been around the world to places. But I've been to, I don't know, what's the most interesting place I've been? Russia, maybe? Russia, Ecuador, Argentina, just to name a couple.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's another thing that a lot of people in the fantasy industry don't know about me. So I used to be a national chess champion. So that's actually why I traveled to those 3 places.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's probably not surprising in some ways, like given that dynasty strategy is kind of like my thing. So... then I'm a strategy expert. I do mention it on Twitter. Anytime someone mentions chess, I come into the comments. I show them my chess.com profile. Oftentimes they look at it and they're like, I don't want to play you. I'm pretty good. I haven't played in a while, but I still love it. I play from time to time, like casually, but not competitively anymore. But yeah, it's that's why I got to go to all those places. And I have not, though, traveled the U.S. to the extent. We did travel a little bit of the U.S. for chess, but not to 42 states. I think I've probably been to, I don't have a tally, but I would guess around 25.
Have you seen the Queen's Gambit?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you
Good
said
show.
it at first, I was like, why are we talking about the Queen's Gambit opening? That seems like an odd question. But yes, the Beth Harmon show. As I thought it was relative. It was a great show and relatively realistic as someone who would know. Like I know whether that's realistic or not. It's relatively realistic. The only thing about it that's not realistic, and I understand why they did this for production reasons, is that she's way too old.
Oh, okay.
Chess prodigies typically start at, like, she was too old. Like, chess prodigies often start when they're like 3 or 4, not 7 or 8.
Wow.
That was the one thing that was a little bit odd. But obviously for like a production show, like actors, you're not going to be able to get a 3-year-old, 4-year-old actor to be a convincing chess player. So I understand that choice from a production perspective. Mm-hmm. But it was one of my favorite series over the quarantine period. So some good entertainment.
There was a couple good series. It was a lot of people made the best of a bad situation in it.
Yeah, there was Last Dance. People watched Tiger King. I wasn't really a big fan of Tiger King, but those are some of the big ones. We had to change our lives. I mean, we had to. Basically, it was a lot of sitting at home, a lot of creating fantasy content. But for other people,
to overcome,
for other people, it was a lot of watching TV, staying inside. I get my second vaccine dose tomorrow, so that'll be hopefully starting an end to all of this. But which would be nice. Believe me, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all you guys to get it first to make sure, when you grow your third eye and stuff, I'll wait till they get the refined vaccine, and then I'll take it.
I totally understand that. It's new. There are people who want to wait a little bit, but I just kind of felt like I just wanted to get in, and I think it's I'm just happy I did and had the opportunity. But
I know I'm eventually going to get it. I have no problem getting it. I just don't want it right now. And I want to wait till all the guinea pigs go through the testing and stuff, and you don't get it. And then I'll be like, okay, it's safe now. I'll go get it. I'm great. I know.
Yeah,
there's been so many good vaccines over the years: the measles, the polio. I get it.
Yeah, there have been. The vaccine is one of the greatest inventions ever. I mean, probably it's as humans. I mean, there's electricity, indoor plumbing. It's on the level of those kind of inventions. It really, it's a great thing. But yeah, I mean, I understand that it's very new. It hasn't been. It's only under an emergency use authorization, not a formal approval. So, I think it's important that people get it, but I also understand that it's the kind of thing where it's everyone has their choice of whether to do that. So I don't ever pressure anyone into doing that. They have to make their own choices. Yeah. And I suggest that they people go read about, if you have concerns about the vaccine, go read the literature on it. I did that for myself, and I decided that I wanted to get it. And if you go read it and come to a different conclusion, that's your choice.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to get it. I just, we were in Florida, and we went to Gatorland Zoo and a couple of Disney parks, and we just kind of, even though Florida doesn't have any masks, like you go to the store, like the gas station, nobody's wearing masks, nobody's doing whatever. But
it's very different here.
The major parks are, you go into Disney World, you have to wear a mask the whole time, and the people sweeping the floor are like, "Hey, put your mask on. Hey, pull your mask up. Hey, doing this and that." But there was no characters walking around. We were at Disney World like 20 years ago. My kids were younger.
You mean like Mickey Mouse?
None of those characters are walking around. Aww. Like you don't get. It's kind of a ripoff when you go now, because you can go wait in line, and why
wouldn't you have characters walking around? Is there?
Because all the people gather around them. All the kids it's Mickey Mouse or Buzz Lightyear. Like when I went back in the day, my daughters, it was the perfect time when my daughters were every day they were changing their shirt. They were Ariel for 5 minutes, and they were Snow White for 5 minutes, and they were this one for 5 minutes. And my son was a couple years older, and he was in love with Buzz Lightyear at the time.
I did it too. I've been to Disney World. I love it. I think it's that's why I hope we can just get back to normal soon. So all the kids don't miss out on these kind of once in a lifetime kid opportunities.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish there had to be some way to do that. You could kind of. I figure you could kind of like fence them off or something, or like have them behind like a rope or something. So that way you didn't get close to them. Something like that.
All the workers would come by and block a street, and they would have a real small parade with like 3 or 4 cars, like only that theme, like the what's the Toy Story. So there'd be a Toy Story parade like every 4 hours or every 2 hours or something like that, you know. So everybody would kind of see and wave the buzz for like a, you know, like you go around the park and go to this, you know, start here and go there, but they never got out of cars. They never signed autographs, or they never hugged a kid, or you couldn't like go around and like give him 5 and like that. He was 50. Everybody was 15 feet away from everybody at all times.
Yeah, I mean that's, you know, unfortunately that's like the reality of doing things in a pandemic. But I'm, you know, again, I always tell people that this is temporary. It's not like that's what I always tell people who are feeling upset or maybe depressed over it, is that this is not forever. This will not be the rest of your life. This will change. It's been getting better. It will continue to get better. This is not going to be the rest of your life. So if you have just one thing to like positive, and this is what I've been holding on to the whole time, like if you have something positive to hold on to, like that helps you get through days, even when it's difficult. Like, if you have something to look forward to.
I think we went to 9 states this year, and like we do these trips every year, you know, as far as like I was saying before. And this year we hit like Stone Mountain Park in Georgia, and it was super awesome. Like places, my wife's like, let's hit the Stone Mountain Park, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, why don't we just drive to Florida and get there? She's like, no, let's see this, let's see that, let's see. So we're like, all right, we went to. It was, if you get a chance, Stone Mountain Park in Georgia it was super awesome.
I went to a park this summer. Like kind of a similar thing. It's called Bear Mountain State Park. It's in New York. Yeah. So I think it's got to be a very similar thing. It's like super beautiful. Like they have trails and nature. There's like a great like lake, and you could like take pictures of them. There was a mountain. It was just like massive. And for someone who's from the city, like Central Park is the best thing I've got. Like when it comes to nature, and believe me, that's like crowded with people all the time. Like.
We were there.
It doesn't really feel like nature. It feels like you're in the middle of a city. But like when we went out there, I was like, I finally feel like I'm in nature a little bit. It was nice, refreshing like thing for me. So I hope that your family felt the same way.
Yeah, we went to some hot dog place called Varsity in Atlanta. That was terrible. I mean, we went there. Everybody gave us recommendations. It was like a Steak and Shake, if you know what that is. You know, we spent Easter Sunday on Bourbon Street, drinking a lot of mixed drinks, and we saw Johnny Cash's childhood home and tons of other cool stuff on this trip. But my favorite place out of all the 42 states that we've already been to is Bryce Canyon in Utah. It's still my most favorite thing I've ever seen. Looking at it online doesn't do it any justice. When you're there in person watching this canyon that God created, this, you know, this. It's like a small Grand Canyon, and there's formations all over the place, different colors, different shapes, different everything. I can't even explain how awesome it is. If you ever get a chance,
you can't. Yeah, it's the kind of thing you got to see it. I feel like from what you're describing, you got to be there. I mean, that's maybe some. I've never been to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, it's awesome. It's cool.
And I have heard that. I've never been to Niagara Falls either.
I've been there. It's awesome.
Else you mentioned.
Niagara Falls,
these places.
Niagara Falls, you have to go like during the day to see it, and then go back at night when it's all lit up. It's super awesome. And you know what? I don't know why. Mount Rushmore. If you ever get a chance to go to Mount Rushmore,
never been there either.
If you go there during the day. There's an ice cream place on campus. You go there during the day, look at it. Go get your little ice cream. That's a homemade, like the first ice cream invention, like in America. You get it there. Go get something to eat and come back, because at night they turn all the lights off. And they wait for everybody to come in there. And then at one point, everybody counts down, and they turn all the lights on, and it totally illuminates. And then they call every veteran to the front stage, and everybody sings the Star Spangled Banner together. And you stand up, your hand on your chest, and you just feel like you're American. You know, and it just feel like you're super American at that point in time.
That's beautiful.
It's absolutely awesome.
I mean, that's something. I've never been to Mount Rushmore. I've always wanted to go. That sounds beautiful. I mean, I've been to a lot of, like, I've been lucky. I've gotten to travel, you know, I got to go in like Putin's office in Russia. I got to go to like cities in Ecuador most people have never been to. You know, I got to see like remote parts of Argentina. Like I've been to Paris. Like I can't complain about my life and traveling, but just because I've been to a lot of nice places doesn't mean that like there aren't places that I'd still like to go to. There's so much left on this earth. It's so big.
Right.
There's just so much, so much left to cover. And maybe, one day I'll take more of a trip. Hopefully as more me, now as of tomorrow, I'll be fully vaccinated. Some of my friends are doing the same. We'll be able to, they'll be willing to travel, and we can go around the America, some sort of road trip. We got to find someone who knows how to drive better than me. Because my driving is, it's New York City driving, and it's just, oh boy.
Well,
you don't want to know.
No, I've been there. I know exactly what it took. We went to Times Square on like a Tuesday night at like 10 o'clock at night.
I live within walking distance of Times Square.
Tuesday night at like 10 o'clock at night, it was like the Cubs won the World Series. It was that busy. I was like, what the shit? Like, I couldn't even.
Yeah, that's every night.
Every night of the it was
Tuesday.
And I thought driving down I-55 to Kennedy Expressway by the museum campus and Soldier Field and stuff, I thought that was bad traffic during the week.
Oh, you have no idea.
Oh my God, it's bad. And Atlanta was just as bad. So just so you know,
Atlanta has a reputation. I know that for being a traffic nightmare. But New York City, that was the one thing at the start of the pandemic that I will not miss, is that there was just no traffic anywhere.
Yes.
But now we are back to traffic because people are taking a lot less public transportation and using more cars. So now actually traffic is worse.
Yeah.
It's worse than ever. There's just traffic upon traffic upon traffic. But hey, I live in New York City, so I that's been every day of my life.
Yeah, we make, with all the six of us packed in the car, we make the best of a bad situation. Everybody gets to pick their music, like everybody gets two songs. The music went from Kenny Chesney to LL Cool J to Eminem to Juice WRLD to Jimmy Buffett to the Black Crowes, and everything in between.
God.
It was super awesome because my daughters are in they know all the hip hop songs. My son's, he's in the hip hop stuff. My other son's kind of a country guy. I'm more of like a Guns N' Roses, Metallica, kind of like Jimmy Buffett and, Kenny Chesney guy. My wife doesn't give, she doesn't really care. She's like, whatever's on the radio, as long as you guys aren't, to talk, as long as you guys are talking, and we take turns driving. We have 5 of us are drive. Isn't that scary? I have 5 people in the house that can drive a car, and
that is crazy, yeah.
So and we do that. It was, and then I like the other thing we do to waste time. I think I said it on one of our tweets today. My kids found these. Everybody's been saying Chuck Norris jokes for 20 years and stuff, but they found 100. What Chuck Norris is, right? Obviously, it's so they found these Chuck Norris jokes. I wrote a couple of them down here just to kind of. Chuck Norris can dribble a ball. Like I said, Chuck Norris can dribble a bowling ball. Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice. A cobra once bit Chuck Norris in the leg, and after 5 days of excruciating pain, the cobra finally died. When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris.
The bowling ball one is epic because you think about it for a second and you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't sound very weird, and then your second thought comes in and you're like, hey, wait a minute, you can't dribble a fucking bowling ball. I just cursed, sorry, but whatever. It happens, but you can't dribble a bowling ball. It was
he's Chuck Norris can kill 2 stones with 1 bird. Stuff like that. These stupid ass, Chuck Norris can make an onion cry.
They're so silly, but they land,
This is the last 2 of them. Chuck Norris can build a snowman out of rain. And then Chuck Norris can drown a fish. These are these things. These are the jokes that we listened to we were in a car for a total of 14 days, but I think we were in a car for at least 8 hours a day, almost every day.
14 days. Wow.
It was nice. Yeah. I work 4 on, 4 off, rotating 12-hour shifts. So I work midnight, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then I'm off 4 days, and I work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So when I take 4 vacation days, it ends up being a 14-day span, so a 13-day span anyway.
Wait, so what exactly do you do?
I'm building maintenance. I do air conditioning, plumbing, electricity, and all that kind of stuff. I work in a data center in Elk Grove Village, which is a suburb out by us. But so I'm kind of a jack of all trades. Some people call us master of none kind of thing, but it's I like what I do. I've been in the trades my whole life. If you
like it, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anyone else says, as long as you like what you're doing, then that I always tell people that whatever. I can't think of any better way to say it than fuck everyone else. If you're happy with your job, that's why I want to work in fantasy football because I hate everything. Yeah. I hate everything I've ever done. Like everything I've ever done up until fantasy football, I've always hated it. I've hated it. I don't know why, but I've always hated it.
When I'm on a midnight shift, I do my rounds, and then if nothing's, I mean, like the saying is, we get paid for what we do, not for what we can't. We get paid for what we can do, not for what we do. There's a lot of downtime, but if something goes wrong, I got to take care of a situation. Turn a pump off, start a chiller, do whatever. Clean a cooling tower out. Things that need to be done. So there's a lot of downtime when nothing's going on. So I do all my rankings, all of my adjustments, all my ADP stuff all night long when I'm on the night shift. I got a couple hours of, I love doing it. I listen to podcasts. I listen to 50 I subscribe to 52 podcasts. I listen to all the time. 52? 52 podcasts. And I last year or so, I finally started taking notes because I put it on 1.5 speed and I work I work four 12-hour shifts in a row. So I have 48 straight hours of just night shifts to burn through podcasts. It's me and 2 security guards in a 1 million square foot building. So I have all night. Nobody's bothering me. I do my rounds with my podcast, and I learn a lot of information. It's nice listening to so many awesome podcasts. So
I listen to like 20 or so, like 52. I can't do, but I listen to about 20.
Well, okay, so I got rid of like 2 or 3 probably this month just because they're just kind of turning where I don't want to go, and then I found your podcast. And I'm like, oh, this is cool.
We're new. We're very new.
Right. And I like this. I like your energy. I like like I said before, your confidence, your energy, your enthusiasm. And I like when people are not like on the same page, like, oh, we're buddy. This is what we do together. I like when there's clashing heads. I like that.
I mean, like as people, CJ and I are buddy, but like, it's a show. Like if I don't agree with, he talked about, Tyler Boyd as a dynasty buy. And I was like, well, and I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. And I don't agree with that at all. In any way, like I agree with none of that. So I'm sorry.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah. Well, you can disagree. It's good when people disagree. Disagreement makes for good podcasting. But if we just, and that was something we've worked on because we sometimes we agree on a lot. Yeah. So, sometimes it's nice always when we find something that we disagree on because whenever I won't back down, right? And I think that, this is something we talked about before the show. Like if I feel a certain way, I'm not just going to fold under the, someone, giving their argument like right to me is probably not going to get me to change my mind.
Right.
Like I'm gonna probably stick to it, and I'll stick to I'll be adamant about it, and I'm fine with that. Like because I want the people to know that I'm being honest with them. I don't want to be the guy who like just says whatever I think the people want to hear. Because what good is that? Like that's not giving fantasy advice. That's just being like pleasing the crowd. And I'm like, that's nice, but I want to be honest. Like if you lose that like integrity and, the idea that you're always giving your honest opinion, like the second you lose that, you never get it back. So that's why I always that's like my guiding principle whenever I'm on any podcast, any article, anything. It's like, if I say it, I believe it.
And this is not fun when you like everybody says all the time, the view never changes unless you're the lead dog on a sled team. Like you're always looking at every dog's ass in front of you. And like the view never changes unless you're the lead dog. And I always want to be the lead dog. I don't, not that I'm trying to be some fantasy football hero or try to have 100 million followers, but I want to be me. I want to like, this is what I do. That's why my show's different. That's why some of my opinions are different than everybody else's, but I don't want to say like, oh, Adam Silva said this, or, Scott Fish said this, or this is what this guy said, so I better say it too, kind of thing. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to believe what you believe. And if you do that, you're not going to have fun. So you're laughing, you're talking about your stuff, your energy, your enthusiasm, your confidence. You can tell that you're having fun doing this. You might know some people do this as a job. Like I don't get paid for this. I like doing it. But at one point in time when it becomes a job for me and I have to do it, I don't think it'll be fun anymore. I don't know.
See, I think it still would be because it's no secret. I want to do this as a job, right? Like I want to work in fantasy football. Like And that's because it's the only work-related thing that I've ever even somewhat enjoyed. Like, I like this. I was on a show earlier with Luke Sawhook. You should go follow him. But that aside, we recorded for 2.5 hours. We didn't need to record for 2.5 hours. Like, I guarantee you that zero people, maybe if we're lucky, anyone who watched it live, maybe, who tuned in for the end of it. But I guarantee maybe 2-3 people at best are going to go in and tune into the last half hour, or 2.5 hour live stream, right? I mean, who's doing that? Nobody has time for that. But That's not why I did it. Like, it was fun for me to do it at the time. I mean, I loved recording it. So, like, that's the kind of stuff if I like doing it, I'm just going to do it, even if it's not going to get the views. It's not all about, yes, I want to do this for a living, but, not every decision I make is just like, how can I get the most views? How can I get the most clicks? Like, no, I want to do what I enjoy, and I know that, I work hard at this, and eventually those things are going to come, and that's how it is. It's if you don't enjoy doing this, it's going to show in your content. People are going to realize that you're just kind of, just doing it. And I don't want to be one of those people. I want to be, I want the fun, like, this is really me. Like, I'm really like this. Like, if you ask my friends in real life, like, this is actually how I am. Yeah, maybe I'm not quite this loud because I'm not being recorded on a podcast where the audio is important. Like, yes, I speak a little bit louder on a podcast, but like, this is my real personality. It is not a persona. Like, it's not a persona for this show. I am really like this. So like, you follow me around with a camera all day, watch how I interact with my friends or just anyone. Like, this is me. So like, I always say, like, just be yourself and just kind of just do it.
Yeah. I see some guys have they're the fantasy king or the fantasy this and that. Instead of like their real name and their real this and that. Like, I always want to be John McGlynn that's on Twitter saying what I think, It's super awesome that kind of like, and just being yourself and not having to worry about like, keeping up some kind of, aura or some kind of.
A picture of yourself to me goes a long way because then I know who I'm speaking to. Mm-hmm. Like, I just like that. It's easier. I'm someone who connects by looking at someone. Like, I like to know, like, when I'm like, say the fantasy footballers, right? I know a lot about them. I've never met them, but I know who they are. I mean, Mike Wright, Jason Moore, Andy Holloway, they have their Twitters, they post things. Like, I know them. Like, I feel like I can connect to them. They put themselves out there. That's why I think they've been so successful, because they've put themselves out there as people too. So like, I feel like I don't know them obviously personally, but I feel like I have like a connection to them, even though we've never really interacted. Right. So that, I'm trying to do that myself and put myself out there as well.
Yeah, like that's Stephanie Smalls. I follow her on Twitter, and she said, like, I'm so sick of having, the frog shoe or the chess champion to tell me how bad I am all the time. Like, unless you're a real person and interact.
Yeah. I'd like to just know who I'm speaking to. Like, if you're going to tell me my rankings suck, that's fine. Like, that's fine. You don't have to agree with me. Like, I'm not saying that you must tell me that my rankings are good, but like, tell me if you're telling me my rankings suck and you're just some burner account with like you said, like a picture of a frog. I'm kind of like, how do I respond to that? Like, I don't know. Like,
Dumpster Fire just told me I suck.
Like, I don't know anything about you. I don't know your name. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you look like. Nothing. And it's just kind of like, I've put everything out there, like, from me, like, everyone, knows who I am. Like, I've told a lot about me. I say where I live. Like, my birthday is on my Twitter profile. Like, there's a picture of me as my profile picture. It's all there. And like, I just, it's a little hard for me to interact with someone who hasn't shown me any of the same courtesy on their end. It's just, like you said, a picture of a frog. It just feels like a very uneven interaction. It feels a little unfair to me.
My birthday's in 2 days, April 15th, tax day.
Oh, well, not tax day this year.
That's right.
They extended. Thank you. Thank you, IRS. You actually did something nice for the kid. You extended the tax deadline. That was very nice. But yeah, happy almost birthday.
That's right. I'm getting old every day. Every second's a second older in my life, but it's I'm living every minute of it.
Everybody.
Yeah, I'm living every minute of it. So
everyone gets a second older every second.
We never really get introductions here. I just, tell listeners about yourself, where the Twitter machine can find you and what you do and where you're at.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think
a half hour in, we didn't do introductions yet. Sorry.
To be fair, I do think most of your listeners probably at least know of me.
Yeah.
My name's Tyler. I'm at DLF_Karp. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. I guess not. But yeah, so at DLF_Karp on Twitter. I write for Dynasty League Football. I publish a lot of articles for them. They are very nice to publish all of my articles. I really appreciate it, especially the editors. Thank you for working with me so quickly. I'm getting all my articles published. I have to thank them for that. I think I started there in February, and in February and March, I think I published 29 articles. So that is a lot. And I'm proud to have done that. And I recently started my own podcast. It's called the Dynasty Duo. We've mentioned it on here, I think maybe offhand. And yeah, you can follow the pod account at the Dynasty Duo FF. Pretty much everything I do is on my Twitter, though. My author link for DLF's in the profile. My Patreon, which I never promote and probably should, is in the pinned post, and then the Dynasty Duo podcast account is in my bio. So yeah, it's all there. I definitely could do better with promoting it, but a lot of it's that I have so many appearances going on. This is my 5th show in the last 2 days, and I just sometimes I forget to promote things or whatever. But
you'll promote yourself. You don't have to promote yourself. The more content you put out and the more time you spend interacting with other people, people will find you. They'll put you were 150 people away from the goal you posted the other day on Twitter about you want to have 5,000 followers by the draft. And I don't know where you're at right now. You got to be probably closer than where you were 3 days ago. But
I'm at 5,100 something.
Awesome.
So
right. That's
I already beat that goal. But
fabulous.
But going on what you said, though, about people will find you, I wish that were true, but it's not. And that's why it's another thing that I do in the community. So I love to promote smaller accounts who are just getting started. Like, there are a lot of people, I've met them and they had like 100 followers or less, or they were very new. And, I thought they were doing good work, but people weren't getting an eye on them. And I was like, all right, how can I help these people? So I was like, all right, let me just take a look at their work, promote their stuff. And then, now a lot of them are making appearances on all sorts of shows, they're getting noticed. So I made a difference in those people. So I wish it was like what you said, just doing work and, it works. But a lot of the way that you can really, at least for me, I wish I had known this a little earlier, is a lot of the ways you can kind of grow is by finding some, people who've been in the industry for longer, finding people who, might have a bigger following or write for a bigger site, and just reach out to them and, ask them, what for any advice or anything. I always answer those questions in my DMs. It's why I have open DMs. It's not to ask me start-sit questions. That's not why I have open DMs. It's for people to ask me industry. I get a lot of those, and I can't answer all of them. But I have open DMs for people to ask me industry questions and for people who are looking for support. And it's important to raise up the people coming up behind you, because I wish I had known that when I was a small account. It took me a long time to gain traction, a really long time. I wish that I had asked some people for help earlier, because I think I would have done better earlier. So that's a lesson I learned the hard way. And I know it's hard to approach people. That's why sometimes I approach them myself, because I know they're not going to message me. But that's why sometimes I reach out to them. But yes, you can always reach out to me, anyone listening, if you want some advice on your work or anything like that. Just that's what my DMs are open for.
Nice. That's great that you're involved like that and let everybody kind of.
It's very important. It's other than at this point, I'm at DLF. So other than promoting DLF and their work and their site and our on all of those, our work, our site, blah, blah, blah. other than that, and being a good team player, the second most important thing to me is giving back to the people in the community who are just getting started. And I don't want them to get discouraged or anything like that. I want them to keep going.
Yeah, it's a fun place when you have momentum and you like doing it, and more people start engaging. Hey, you want to be on this podcast? Or
Yeah.
I asked Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse. I had him on this podcast maybe 2 podcasts ago, and I said,
He's
hey,
great.
when are you going to get me on your show, man? Is there any possibility? He goes, how about April 29th? I'm like, what? I get a chance. I'm not in any of those leagues, any trade addicts leagues, but
I am.
Russ, yeah, well, thanks for rubbing it in, buddy. I appreciate it.
Hey, let me tell you, it was random. Like, I just signed up on Russ's Trade Addicts 8 post, and my name was the one that came out of the hat. Like, this was not when I was well known. This was in February of 2020. Like, nobody knew who I was. He just randomly picked my name, and I got lucky enough. I won Trade Addicts 8, by the way.
Nice.
So, just for the record. But yeah, it was random. It's not like I did anything. I signed up on his thread being like, hey, like, put my name in the hat. Like, I think I got 2 names in the hat because I'm a patron of Trade Addicts. But yeah, I just got a lucky draw. And hey, I mean, honestly, that's probably one of the things that's led me to being part of DLF. I mean, meeting Russ and like talking to him, kind of that definitely was a very positive experience for me. He's always been one of my biggest supporters. And I don't know if he's listening to this, but if you are, Russ, I appreciate you. I love you. I told you this yesterday, by the way, but I'll repeat it here live on the air. I appreciate and love you.
He's a good dude. He deserves it all. And I love that his stuff is so, just genuine. It doesn't matter if you have 40,000 followers or 100 followers or 5 followers. If your name comes out of the hat, you're in a Trade Addicts league, and it's super awesome.
Exactly.
He does it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So I don't know if he's going to buckle and do Trade Addicts 10 anytime soon, but
he said he wants to. Maybe I should just start throwing money at the Patreon to get a second chance. It's like Willy Wonka, like golden ticket or something at this point.
I think if enough people ask him, he might fold to the pressure and do Trade Addicts 10. So for those of you who are not in a Trade Addicts league yet and who really want to be in one, you might want to tweet at him a bunch of times. He won't get mad. He'll be happy that people want it.
Yeah.
But I put a little bit of pressure on him to create Trade Addicts 10. I think it would be funny.
Yeah.
Because I know he wants to resist, but I also know that he definitely would want to do another startup. So it would be a funny thing for sure.
I asked him how many of these he plans on doing, and he said, I don't know. He said, I'll probably do 10 just to make it a round even number, but that might be it.
But he's not gonna stick to that.
You can't, right?
He's gonna get that itch to do another one, and he's gonna create 11 and 12. Who knows when it'll be, but 100% he's going to.
Hey, when did you start playing fantasy football? And are you more of a redraft or dynasty guy, or are you all dynasty, all half and half now? What?
Good question. I started fantasy football in 2009, so a while ago. But I didn't really take it very seriously. I just kind of played. I didn't care. It was just something I did. It was like another video game or whatever that I played. Nothing special. But then eventually I found it was actually the Fantasy Pros podcast first, actually, with apparently your neighbor?
My ex-neighbor, he's in the process right now. Moving to Tennessee, and we went to his going away party at his house, and we all said bye, and kind of and I went to Florida, and he's in the transition of moving right now, and it's gonna suck. Because watching the draft with Mike, I went to Tennessee to draft with him with a bunch of Fantasy Pros guys a couple years ago. It's been going to his house to watch games on Sunday afternoon or watching the NFL draft and comparing our draft notes and stuff. It was awesome. He's such a good guy. He's such just a genuine. I go over there not to pick his brain about fantasy football or not to see his rankings or whatever. And I never, like, every time I'm there, I'm not like, here's me and Mike, here's, this and that. Like, he's just a genuinely awesome friend. His wife, his kids, his dog, everything about Mike is just a genuine guy, and you can tell on Twitter he's a genuine person too. And it's
for sure.
Really going to suck missing him as a neighbor,
He was, the Fantasy Pros podcast was the first podcast that I listened to. That was the one that kind of brought me into the community, so to speak. Like, that was my first podcast. And that's when I learned, there are podcasts about fantasy football. Like, I enjoy this. I'll listen to them. And then a couple months, I think this was in like 2017, maybe. It was 2016 or 2017. Somewhere in the middle of the season, I started listening to them. And that just started me because I had found podcasts in like 2014 or 2015, not for fantasy football, just for other, I think it was actually reality TV podcasts of all things. But then I just discovered, I have this podcast app. Maybe there are podcasts about something else. So that's how I found the Fantasy Pros podcast with Mike. And then, so he was like the first analyst that I really paid attention to. And then a couple months later, I found the Ballers, the FF Ballers. And that was a game changer for me because I realized then when they started talking about all these things. And I was like, they're talking about this like forum and they're talking about like their community and they're talking about all of that. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I've never heard of that. And eventually I got myself, I started being active on their forums and all that. And that led me to want to play Dynasty in 2018. I joined my first Dynasty league. And yeah, the rest is pretty much history. I played Dynasty. I realized I was pretty good at this. And then I joined Dynasty Football Factory as a writer in May 2019. I had zero experience. For some reason, they took a shot on me. I don't really know why. I think it's probably because I went to Columbia for sports management. That may have helped. And yeah, I was there for a while. And then I joined DLF a couple months ago, actually. I'm very new there. I started in February.
Yeah, I listened. My first podcast was the Dynasty Warzone that I listened to.
The Warzone.
I started listening. Now it's Jerry and Memphis, but it wasn't those guys before. It was. It may have been. It was. I
don't remember. I've listened to them from time to time.
Yeah, now they're one of the regs on my out of my 52 that I listen to. They're people on there are awesome, and I love Memphis, love Jerry, and they're one. It's still something that's in my rotation. Like they said, the names have changed, but the podcast quality is still great. It's but I started working this new job 5 years ago. And I'm like, what do I do with all this free time at midnights? And I got on Twitter because my neighbor, Joe Castleman, across the street from me, told me about, you got to get on Twitter for sports. And at that time, I was strictly Facebook, and it's all family and friends. And I could tell you,
I never did Facebook for sports ever. I
could tell you my neighbors, my best friend's kid's soccer number, but I couldn't tell you what was going on in the Pittsburgh Steelers that day. And so I got on to Twitter, and now Facebook is in the dust as far as I still go on every once in a while. Here, my family's doing this, or check on my, my cousins or whatever, but Twitter has taken over my life as far as that goes with like social media. I don't do TikTok or InstaFace or whatever, the other stuff like
TikTok. That. So. I don't do any TikTok.
My kids do the Snapchat and TikTok and all the other stuff like that.
I have a Snapchat, but I don't use it for fantasy. No,
I don't think any of that stuff is for fantasy. I'm good. My daughter's going out right now. They're in ASL, and she's showing me how I'm learning ASL with them while they're doing it. So, yeah, you're good. You can go out. So I'm learning, the alphabet, and so they spell stuff to me. Even though every time I tell them to do chores around the house or do something else, they're like, "Hey, Dad, they're telling me to go pound sand when in sign language."
Yeah.
It
must be crazy having 4 kids.
Yeah, there's my daughter Maggie. She's gonna throw her face in here real fast and say, "Hi."
Hi, what's up?
Say hi. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
I'm on the wrong place.
All right, so she just it's awesome having girls that are so talented and they do sports and But I'm learning I'm learning stuff with them as they learn and grow. And one daughter wants to be a nurse, and the other one wants to. What do you want to do? Oh, she wants to do either eyelashes, eyebrows, stuff like that, and maybe have a full-time job as an engineer, do a job as an engineer, and then do her makeup stuff on the side. So
I love that.
But sorry, she just jumped.
Very ambitious.
Yeah. So, but that's when I got this job working midnights. I started listening to these podcasts, and now I can't help it. I got them all on 1.5 speed, and I stop. I'll be in the middle of my rounds doing something, and I'll hear something cool, and I'll stop, and I'll go on my Google Sheets, and I'll write the rookie stuff from Ray GQ or Matt Waldman or whoever else, and I just kind of write down all these notes and stuff. And the worst part about it is I don't have a rookie pick in any league that I'm in.
Sorry.
I trade them all away all the time. I hate rookie picks. I'd rather just sit back for a week. I think I wait till after the draft and I trade players away, and I'll trade guys who I think only have a year left or who did real good. I'll sell them at high value for Justin Jefferson when he came out, or guys I pick up who I believe in. I think my only big, and I'm not even gonna say it's a big strike, swing and miss so far, has been Zach Moss. I kind of expected him to come over and take out.
Yeah,
and I didn't pay too much for him anyway, but I traded Michael Thomas, and I got Miles Sanders, Zach Moss, and 2 other running backs. So
could be worse.
It could be worse, is right. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen.
Thomas didn't exactly hit.
And Thomas was in that phase where I thought he was going to go all kind of like crazy man, like A.J. Brown did. So I was kind of like, I better get rid of him now before he starts going crazy and pulls the A.J. Brown, or not A.J. Brown,
Antonio Brown. So I was kind of worried. I don't want to get caught with, in the Deshaun Watson situation. So I kind of unloaded a little bit less, but I still got, I'm pretty happy with Miles Sanders and Zach Moss. If he, hopefully his foot comes back to normal, they don't draft a running back. But there are worse things. There are worse things that could have happened.
Yeah, but that's. So are you more of a, like, are you still in like dynasties or redrafts, or what are you doing now?
Yeah, I don't play as much fantasy football as I used to. I spend most of the off-season leaving leagues, not joining them. And like, I don't know, like it's gotten to the point where I'm too out there.
Yeah.
Like I'm too, this is going to sound ridiculously pretentious, but like, I'm too well known.
Right.
Like everything about what I do, it's like playing poker, but you can see all of my cards. Everyone just knows everything that's in my hand, all of my cards, and I don't know anything about what's in any of their hands. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. And there's also another thing. It's like, so there's that. And there's also the kind of thing where it's like, the way I like to play fantasy football is not really compatible with being liked very much. And like, I will do anything. I'm a very, very competitive person. I will do anything to win. Anything. And that is a little bit, that doesn't really go with the way I am as a content creator. So it's just like it. And the problem is I'm interacting with the same people doing both.
Right.
So it's kind of like, what's more important to me?
It's kind of like in my backyard when I have a draft and we're in a neighborhood league and Mike Taglier's there, and there's 10 people with Fantasy Pros rankings, and Mike wrote those and he's in there. And he's the first person in my life I ever saw that went to a draft with no cheat sheet, no anything, just sat there, and in round 17, pick 4, he already knew that he was picking, so-and-so.
Oh, I could do that too. I could definitely do that.
I'm pretty good, but I figured I could do it. I could think of names like all the way down.
But I don't know why I would. I mean, I'd rather just use my spreadsheet.
A day or two later, I'd be like, man, what the hell? I could have had so-and-so here. And I just, I had a brain fart and I drafted this guy, so I could, but I mean, and he won the league. I came in second. I think I came in third place.
But yeah, so building on that, like so that's why I have my Patreon. I have my Patreon because essentially what my Patreon is, for anyone who doesn't know, there's 2 things. One, you can buy my dynasty rankings. Those are just dynasty rankings. It's a spreadsheet. I update it. They're the same rankings you get from anywhere else, but I like being able to format it my way on my spreadsheet. Just all of that. I don't have to put it in an API or whatever a site does. Like it's just easier for me that way. So that's why I just prefer to rank on my own. So you can buy those. And then the second part of my Patreon is the more interesting portion, which is where essentially you can buy me to help you run your dynasty team. So I like this. This is how I still get to play. Like I'm playing, but you might not know that you're playing against me. Like you're really playing against me, but you think you're playing against like Joe Smith. But really, right. Joe Smith is just asking me for every decision that he wants to make. And I'm just telling him what to do.
How many people do you do that for? Because I couldn't imagine on Sunday morning when I try, like Scott Sidlow's in like 184 leagues, as far as that. Some guys have like 200 and some leagues. How do you set lineups?
No, I'm not setting these lineups. Like at the end of the day, these people know that these are their teams, not mine. So like they they know that I am doing my best to answer all of their questions. But at the end of the day, like, they're going to be setting their lineups. They might ask me a question here and there, but like I expect most of the time they're not going to ask me about start sit and look, I take start sit. Last season I took start sit questions anyway. I got like 100 or 150 of those every Sunday. So like it's not like I'm not used to taking start sit.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that like I don't own these teams. They do. So like at the end of the day, they're responsible for their teams. They don't ask me about every waiver wire transaction or every trade, but they ask me about most of them. And most of the time an answer like, yeah, do I answer them within 2 minutes every time? No. But like, is for a trade, is an answer within a few hours almost always good enough? Sure. Like it's not usually a rush. Like maybe the only time where I think it's going to be really brutal on me is during rookie draft season, because everyone's going to be doing their rookie drafts at the exact same time. So that's going to be a little rough on me. Like I already can tell that I'm going to be a little swamped. But other than that, it's really not an issue. And I don't expect it to be an issue during the season. I do feel like rookie drafts are going to be a little overwhelming just because I'm going to probably kind of have my hands in, like at the most leagues I could really handle on my own was about 6. And I feel like I'm going to have my hands in at least 12 rookie drafts at once.
Yeah, at least.
But at the end of the day, again, all of these people realize that these are their rosters, their teams, and I'm there to help them, not do it for them. Like I'm there to have someone to converse with and talk it over with. And also a lot of it is like, I like that better. Like I like talking with a friendly voice that's like trying to talk over strategy with me than talking to my league mates who are playing against me, if that makes sense.
That makes tons of sense, yeah.
I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Like if you talk to someone, it's not an oppositional relationship. It's like a symbiotic relationship. We're trying to figure out together how to make their team better. Right. And that's just so much fun for me. Like I love that conversation. But like when I talk to my league mates, it's like we're competing against each other. It's competition. Like, yeah, we can be friendly, but like those conversations tend to go in a little bit of a different, not quite as enjoyable direction, if you know what I mean. I love being like a co-manager, co-owner. Like I have a dedicated co-owner, by the way, as well, on top of this. He's great. I mean, we work really well together. We have a great relationship. But at the end of the day, he realizes that one I'm a little more hands-on. Like I have his account password. Like I have I'm actually a co-owner on one of his teams. Like that's the only one where I'll go in and make the moves myself. But it's similarly, at the end of the day, they're still his teams. He trusts me to like run them, but I don't just go in and do things. Like I tell him that I'm going to do things. Yeah. But yeah, so that's how I play without having to just kind of deal with, because talking to league mates is my least favorite part of playing football. I got to be honest with you. I don't find that enjoyable generally. I really just don't. So this is how I get to still play without having to do that, I suppose.
I've been in leagues where like I said, all mine are live. So we've been in fistfights over trades and moves and stuff before. So it's because everything's in person. You can't hide behind a computer screen or whatever.
That would be something. Yeah, no, I think. But see, when I did a league with my friends, it wasn't better. Like I didn't have a better experience. If anything, it was worse because like outside like drama like seeped into the league.
I started one of my first home leagues that I started. I made a trade. I traded away Josh Allen and Sam Darnold 2 years ago when I was kind of thinking that Josh Allen wasn't going to pan out. He did okay, and it wasn't last year when he had his breakout season. It was right before last season. I traded Josh Allen and Sam Darnold for the 101 and 102 rookie picks, which would have been Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor. And I'm thinking to myself, I already had like 5 or 6 quarterbacks. I wasn't really – I thought I could do this. And I knew I like Sam Darnold. We'll talk about that later. He's part of our questions later in the podcast. But my brothers – my brother-in-law, a bunch of my friends, they reversed this trade. And they said the trade was so bad they threw me out of commissioner of the league. They said I was cheating.
What?
I'm like, what the fuck? So I quit this league. I'm like, you know what? If this is kind of bullshit that you guys are going to do,
Never veto. Never veto.
But they threw me out of commissioner.
That's stupid.
I mean, because they said it was such an unfair trade, and I was ripping this guy off, and I'm like,
it was a Superflex league?
It was a Superflex league, and
Why,
I'm like,
how is this unfair? I don't understand.
You know what? Half the people said this as an owner that we're talking about, like possibly, that he might. But I talked to the guy, and I said, hey, you're not. Every once in a while, you're not around. You make some kind of. But he's made a couple bad trades in the past, but still everybody took advantage of him. But he made a couple good trades that panned out for him too. And I talked to him in the morning. I'm like, hey, I sent you a trade the other day. Are you interested? And he goes, yes, I want this trade. I go, are you leaving this league? Are you going to start being more involved? You're going to do whatever. I had a great conversation with him, and we did the trade. And the trade went on that night. And a couple hours later, he accepted it after work, and he got it. And like 10 minutes later, I started getting all these, on a group text. You're a piece of shit. You're this and that. How would you? This is unacceptable. We're vetoing this trade. And I'm like what? I just gave up Josh Allen and Sam Darnold in the Superflex for two. You don't even know at that point in time it was just pick 101 and 102. And I hate rookie picks. None of them. I have no idea what I'm getting with rookie picks. Who knows what? I mean, I could have drafted Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow is probably not playing this year. He's probably going to start the year in a pup.
I think he will play, but that's because our new injury analyst Jeff tells me that I should not be worried. I trust him. So
I don't know.
Take his word for it.
I know these guys are they rehab every day like it's their job, but he tore everything in his knee.
I know. Hey, look, I feel as someone who doesn't know as much about this, I felt the same way as you, but I've been told by the injury expert that I should not be concerned. And
if he goes on a pup and misses the first 5 or 6 weeks, or the first 8 weeks? Do you think the Bengals when the Bengals are 1-7?
He's not going to miss the first 8 weeks though.
Okay, well I hope he doesn't. But
I hope he doesn't. Look, I thought the same way that you did, but I went and asked the injury expert. He told me that no, he should be ready to start the season. And I wrote an article about Joe Burrow, and I included that entire message in the article. So, clearly, I was okay with publishing that on DLF. So,
I've heard from a couple doctors the opposite, saying that hey, the Bengals are Joe Burrow's blowing smoke up everybody's butt right now, saying he's at 3 weeks ahead of progress, and he's this. Of course, he's going to say. What is he going to say? I'm not coming back. I'm not. Of course, it's going to be all sunshine and lollipops.
What is we gotta find out what Ethan has to say about
Ethan
that.
already told me that no. And this was a while ago, but Ethan Turner told me that he does not think that Joe Burrow is going to play the beginning of the season.
I want to hear him talk about that on a podcast. Where has he been?
Well, I was on the Superflex Super Show when he was on there too, and every once in a while I talk to him. I don't know. He runs his own. He's got a couple businesses. That guy is he's one of the most busiest human beings I know.
This has been a brutal time for people in his profession. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand that. But he's in the DLF.
He's everywhere.
He's in the DLF chats. He said something. I saw his name pop up recently. He replied to something. It just reminded me of him now that we're chatting about him, that he was still around. Because I've been relying on Jeff Mueller. He's our new injury analyst at DLF. So I've just been relying on his expertise lately.
Yeah.
And he's great. JM Thrive PT on Twitter. If anyone is interested, he always says, "Oh, I only know about injuries. Follow me for my injury takes." But he has good fantasy football takes too. People should follow him for both his injury takes and his fantasy football takes. So I'm happy that we have him. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I literally he DM'd me his Joe Burrow injury take, and I was thinking how do I paraphrase this? And then eventually I was just like, hey, can I just put a screen cap of your word? I don't want to take you out of context. Can we just put you screen capped in the article? Does that work for you? Because I'm just that way we're there's no paraphrasing. There's no, misinterpreting. You just put your words in my article. And he was like, sure. And I was like, all right, let's do that. And we went with that. And I thought that was good.
And on top of that when I asked Ethan this was probably, I don't know what, it wasn't even the end of the season last year.
Probably a while ago, right?
So the progression of the rest of the season, of the whole off season, is things could change. Things could be. He may have some miracle doctor. People heal different. Or you never know if he starts running at a certain point.
Star healing.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean,
that's an Ethan trademark, isn't it? Star healing.
I don't know, but Ethan is awesome.
I'm pretty sure he's the one where that one came from. So the star healing phenomenon. I remember hearing about that.
There's a lot of doctors.
Stars heal faster.
It is super nice to actually have doctors in the fantasy football community to help people understand. First of all, Dr. Chow kind of made things famous, I guess, and then all these.
Just named a couple. I mean, there are others, Matthew Betts is another one, obviously.
Yeah, Matthew Betts.
He does the injury report for the Ballers. So he's another one.
I don't know anything besides electricity, plumbing, and fantasy football.
I don't know anything about any of this doctor stuff. So I pass on that one to the experts.
Yeah.
The guarantee you, 0 people want to hear or read about my medical advice. Nobody wants that. That much I know.
Right. So, what's your favorite Sunday afternoon munching food when you're glued to the TV watching Scott Hansen on Red Zone?
God, I love this question. So I am the biggest talk about FF Fit Club. I am like a health crazy. I have always been a health crazy. I quit drinking at the start of the pandemic. I don't drink anymore. I don't eat anything that has any sugar.
If you say yogurt and shit, this podcast is going to be over right now, right?
No, I don't eat yogurt. Yogurt is too unhealthy.
What?
Yeah, no, it gets worse. So here's what I eat. This is an exclusive that you're getting. I eat a lot of turkey and carrots.
I like turkey.
I like turkey. I like carrots. I like olives. I eat a lot of squash. Peppers. We're listing all the foods I eat. Oh, and I have a lot of creatine. I take a lot of creatine because otherwise I'd be 130 pounds. I weigh a nice 155 soaking wet. I'm 6 feet tall, by the way. So BMI Twitter, get on that. But you tell me what my BMI is. It's very low. I'm aware of this.
Your skin and bones.
Yes. Well, I used to be way skinnier. I used to be 6 feet 140. So BMI Twitter, tell me what that is. But yeah, so I eat a lot of healthy food. I pretty much just listed the foods that I eat in a day. I have these really nice apple chips that are very healthy. The only ingredient is apples. Oh, and cinnamon. They have cinnamon in them. So yeah, this is kind of probably not the answer you were expecting, but that's my contribution to FF Fit Club. We had a good conversation about that yesterday, actually, on the DLF podcast. I wish it had made the air. I think it was we should have kept recording. With John Helmkamp, we talked about it.
He's in one of my
all this, but it was off air.
He's in my new John Helmkamp, Nick Script. There's a handful of guys that are in my new startup league that starts up this year. There are more local guys. Yeah,
he's one of the big people behind the FF Fit Club, and we had a nice conversation about it. It's just none of it was when we were recording. I don't think any of it, maybe a little bit of it made it into the show, but not much. We talked about this my kind of health, how I don't work out that much, but I'm definitely on the nutrition side of the FF Fit Club. But I don't post that kind of stuff on Twitter. There's too many people reading my Twitter, and I'm the comments I'm going to get on that are just a bunch of nonsense. But on a podcast, I know that people listening to this are really in the fantasy community. I'm not just going to get the trolls coming at me telling me you only eat turkey. You eat too much turkey. You're a weirdo.
Turkey's awesome.
Yeah. But I'm not going to get that from saying it on this podcast whereas I posted that kind of stuff on Twitter, I would I just don't want to deal with those comments.
Do you know all the rest of the stuff you talked about, squash and all the other things that you talked, the other vegetables and fruits that you mentioned before, kind of that you eat all the time right now?
Yeah.
I eat things that eat that stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's a good one. That's a good line.
I am a meat. There's a show on TV called Meat Eater. The guy who hunts all the time, brings famous guys out to eat.
I love meat.
I love meat. I'm like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. If I don't have 1.5 pounds of meat every day, I'm not going to survive.
I eat 2 pounds of turkey a day.
That's my minimum. My daughter, you just saw on this, she works at Mrs. Fields in the mall, and every time at the end of her shift,
I saw that on your Twitter.
She brings home these stupid bags of shit every. Right now there's 17 bags of Mrs. Fields.
Oh no!
Before I go to bed every night, here's these cookies. Before I wake up in the morning and I make coffee, I'm like, damn it, there's still 15 bags of cookies over here. I'm gonna give them to neighbors. I bring them to work. My wife works at the jail. She's bringing them to her work too. Like, we can't get rid of them fast enough. My daughter keeps bringing them home. Sometimes when she closes, like, there's a bad day. There's just so much you can't even give them all away, and it's like, I don't want to just throw them away. I'm doing my part to help. There's poor kids around the world that don't have any food, so I'm just trying to make up for that.
Throwing out food is tough. I never throw out any food.
Yeah, I don't. I'm 6 foot, like almost 6'1", but I'm like 325 pounds. And I was always a left tackle, offensive lineman. I was always been a kind of a bigger dude. But now later in life, I don't have a job in construction where I'm digging holes and climbing ladders and, screwing pipe together and kind of pulling heavy cable and all that stuff. So I can feel myself kind of, and I haven't changed my eating habits from when I was killing myself every day at work. I don't. So I've got to the point now where I can feel my body just kind of like, so I got to make some changes. My back's starting to hurt. I never had any knee I broke each of my ankles 3 times from offensive line stuff, but they don't hurt. My back is starting to hurt now because of all the weight. And I'm like, this is not going to be good. I always had that extra, like, my core muscles are always strong. My upper body, my legs are like Saquon Barkley's. I have humongous legs. So I'm not just this, fat piece of crap, but I'm starting to be. And if I don't change things real fast, I'm going to have to. So I like hearing your eating things, like I talked to, actually, I inboxed Troy King about what he does for eating and how he lost all the weight. And he referred me to one of his nutritionists. So I've been talking, I haven't, since I'm back from vacation, I haven't really communicated back and forth with her, but I know that me going to the gym and lifting weights and going on a treadmill is not going to do anything if I'm eating bags of cookies and shit like that all the time. So
it's 90%. People are probably going to flame me for this if people who actually listen, who know a lot about this, but honestly, like, it's 90% diet, 10% exercise. Like, I do my little, I have my little weights over here. Like, I have my little yoga mat, but I don't lift. Right. But I don't do anything. All I do is I lift a couple weights every once in a while. Well, actually, I lift every day, but not really. Believe me, people would laugh at the weight that I lift. It's not a lot. I am 150 pounds. Remember that before you laugh. But yeah, so, and the only thing I really do is I walk. I average about 6.5 walking miles per day, which is a lot. But yeah, so yes, I have I do look pretty good, but it's mostly just diet. It's not like I'm on some sort of intense workout regimen. I don't really enjoy working out. So
that's my saving grace is I have this pedometer I have on my phone, and because I work in a 1 million square foot building where I have to do rounds every day. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to have 16 to 18 to 20,000 steps a day, and my record at work was 35,000 in one day. So I do a lot of walking.
I had a big steps day recently. On Sunday, I walked. It was a big number. Yeah, I walked 11.2 miles.
Yeah.
So that was my big day, which was a lot even for me to walk 11.2 miles, but that's not typical.
Yeah, I used to bench 405. I used to be I used to have all kind of. Yeah, I can't do it anymore either. I'd be lucky if I get 275 up right now. It would be crazy for me to. I mean, I've like I said, the last 5 years of having this job, it's been awesome for fantasy football, but terrible for my health. So I got to change that. I got to do something about that. But
join FF Fit Club.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I went to the city yesterday. I went to my buddy's house. He had bison burgers and elk burgers and what was it? It was elk, bison, and some other kind of moose burgers. And he had all these sausages that were jalapeno with some kind of wild game bird I never even heard of before. And I had that. I got hot. He had a bunch of different hot mustards and stuff on these buns, and I'm like, how do I not try this one or try that one? Here I
Yeah.
am. I had 4 hamburgers on a bun with another sausage, and I couldn't even breathe. I was so
Hard.
full. I'm like, oh, and I probably had about 18 beers, and it's like,
Oh man.
how do I not? I'm Irish. I grew up in Chicago. I played 16 at softball, drinking a case of beer every Sunday. I drink a half bottle of Jameson on a Saturday afternoon, kind of watching football. Like, this is just what we do. Like, this is kind of like what my lifestyle change. I don't want to sit in my house. I want to live my life. I'm not going to live to be, I'm already 46. I'm looking at the back nine of life already. I'm going to enjoy myself. I don't want to die in 5 years because I'm super unhealthy. But at the same time, like, this is fun for me, like, to do all this shit, to go to Sox games, to go to Bears games and tailgate, to go to, this, that. I've been to 16 NFL stadiums and probably 18. We used to bring all our boys, me and all my friends that had boys would bring their kids to like a White Sox away stand to go to Detroit and Philadelphia and Minnesota and this and that. We just bring it was not the boys. We get a hotel room for a couple of days, go watch the games. We go back to the hotel in the pool, drink beers, barbecue wherever we had at the hotel, order pizzas in, like, this is living life for me. I couldn't imagine like not going out and doing things and going to baseball games and not being in like the stadium club and getting free beer and Jameson ginger ales the whole game with food.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. I mean, I suppose, like, look, like, I'm not the kind of person, like, it's not like I sit inside and do nothing all day. Like, I'm single. Like, I have plenty of time. Like, I like to go out and, like, a lot of times when someone messages me something, like, a lot of a lot of people have had this experience where it's like, hey, someone messaged me something and I'm like, hey, I'm partying. I'll get back to you later. And like, so I do have fun. I just, I'm just not like, I don't really drink. I was never like the biggest drinker anyway. And like, I just don't really do that anymore. And then I just try not to eat, like, I really just don't eat unhealthy food. But that's also because I have no sense of smell, basically. So like the cookie,
helps.
It does. Like, the cookie doesn't taste as good to me as it does to you.
Right.
So it's easy. And so ever since I had my tonsils out, I don't really have like a sense of smell, or it's very weak. Like, if you put like instant coffee in my nose, if you put like the coffee up to my nose, I'll smell it. But like, if you have like something in the trash can over there, I'm not going to smell that. So like that's just like a coincidence that happens to help make it easier for me. But, either way.
My wife went to chef school she's not a chef at the jail. She works at the jail processing inmates, but she went to chef school for 5 years. We buy a cow every year from my friend's farm. So we never go out to eat. Everything we have is like
cow.
Yeah, we buy my buddy owns a farm. He only has like 8 cows every year. So we buy a cow. He raises it, and we pay for all the stuff it takes for him to feed them. And because it's all grass fed cows. There's no antibiotics, no any kind of like what do you call them? Any kind of stuff you get from like a processing plant that like just inject cows with like hormones and all shit all the time. These cows don't get anything. It's just grass fed cows with no anything in them. Just a very, very mandatory. But that's why he only has 8 cows every year, because he could just do what he does without like having all these crazy hormones and steroids and shit in them, So we get that, and we have a huge freezer with just a cow, pretty much. So it's a 4 foot by 3 foot by about 4 feet deep freezer that takes a whole cow. We finish it every year. We have me make meatball soup. She makes all the meatballs. I mean, she worked at Michael Jordan's restaurant downtown. She worked a couple places before she had that job. So she knows how to cook, and she knows how to cook really well. In the morning, she'll make a crock pot meal. We'll get home at 4:30. I'll make some kind of rice or vegetables to go along with whatever she's got in the crock pot. And that's it. We eat at the table as a family almost every day when we have a chance. And it's there's plenty of food for everyone. It's all great. It tastes awesome. It's great. It's we have tacos with fresh cow meat. We have everything. Everything we eat is, and it's so lean. When you make this cow, and like, let's just say that they comes in like 2 pound tubes or 4 pound tubes, whatever you want to make it in. You take a 2 pound tube of meat and let it thaw out, and then cook it, get ready for tacos. There's literally like 2.5 teaspoons of grease, and that's all that comes out of that 2 pound meat, and that's it. It's so lean. If you get something from Jewel or whatever place that you got by you, it's like half fat. You got like a whole tin of fat from this meat. Ours is so lean. It tastes awesome. It's got a genuine like taste you've never tasted before. And like,
it's so crazy that like it just comes right from the cow. Like, for me to get anything in New York, you know how many steps it goes through? Like,
I have the cows processed on like Saturday, and I'll pick it up Sunday morning, all frozen, labeled. You know, and we have T-bone steaks and ribeye steaks and all this other stuff, and it comes in packages. You know, you get them a 3/4 inch, an inch and a half, whatever you want for these meats. We get them all different varieties, all the different, and then we have a whole freezer pretty much filled up with 2-pound tubes of ground beef, like a stand-up freezer, stand-up refrigerator. The freezer side is all ground beef that doesn't fit in the regular freezer. So we and my wife will make packages of 16 hamburgers where she'll have like eggs and Worcestershire sauce and real finely diced onions and all this stuff, and cilantro, not cilantro, oregano and all these other spices. And we'll make the hamburgers. I'll cut wax paper. We'll have all these 16 hamburgers frozen, ready to go. So in the summertime, we're having people over in the backyard. We'll just take, in a couple hours, we'll take out a package of 16 hamburgers and put them on the counter for an hour until they thaw out, and we'll start barbecuing with fresh hamburgers, you know. It's we never shop at the store pretty much for almost anything except like milk.
Mean, if you can get it like that, then yeah, I wouldn't shop at the store either. Right? Like,
so it's, I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm so happy. I have a wife that makes awesome food. I have a daughter that brings home these cookies all the time. I got a job where I don't do much anymore. And I'm always out. I'm always like, I always have some kind of social event. All these live fantasy football leagues, I'm going to have 12 drafts, or this year probably 8 drafts that I'm going to have to set up, and we have rookie drafts and regular drafts, and I'm going to be, so that's 16 parties right there in the next month and a half that I'll be doing 2 months. I'll be out drinking and having a good time and making fun of each other and all this stuff, you know. So I can't like go there and say, I'm just going to have the squash nibble, you know, or the corn on the cob or something, you know, like
it's like my thing in my friend group. So like, they all know that I'm like this. So I've always been that guy, or like, I've been this way for long enough that like I don't have many friends left from like before I was this way. It's been many years. So like most of the friends that I still keep in touch with have always known me this way.
And I've got friends who had alcohol issues that don't drink anymore, and they'll go to the games and, you know, tailgate with us and have a couple hamburgers and Diet Cokes and water or whatever to say. You don't got to be a fall down drunk. I mean, I can handle a lot of alcohol. You know, I'm 330 pounds, whatever. I could drink 18 Blue Moons and then probably start doing shots of Jameson after that. Not have a problem at all. And I don't get hangovers. That
would literally kill me for the record, for anyone listening.
I can go to Pepe's and drink margaritas, and I don't get brain freeze. I can just start chugging margaritas. And like, you know,
yeah, and I can't do that.
So I'm, you know, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, whatever it is, but I have a good time. But I definitely have to work on my food issues. But we're gonna. What's your favorite hobby now, and what was it before you started playing fantasy football? Chess, obviously. We talked about that, right?
Yeah, I don't think my favorite hobby was ever playing fantasy football. It isn't now, and it wasn't before. Maybe so, and I don't consider like creating fantasy football content really isn't a hobby for me, so I wouldn't count that. So when it comes to a favorite hobby, I would say we actually kind of covered it. Like going outside, like going out into nature, like just walking around. That it's either that or just like hanging out with friends. Those are by far my 2 favorite hobbies. I don't have like, when it comes to like a hobby, I don't have like a hobby like playing an instrument or like, like I don't have a hobby like that. Like my hobbies are, what I do in my free time is mostly listen to podcasts, walk around, eat, watch TV, like exercise from time to time. Occasionally I'll go play some sports, soccer or football, but like not really. Like my main hobbies, like I said, are mostly just walking around, just kind of chilling and hanging out with friends would be the big 2.
I started a garden, me and my daughter. My daughter was wanting to do it, and so we 2 years ago it was a disaster. Everything was so close. Last year we had a lot of peppers, a lot of tomatoes, a lot of cucumbers, and I love peppers and cucumbers. Like when I get up in the morning, I'll make 4 eggs. I'll throw in a bunch of diced peppers in there with some olive oil, and you know, I'll make like whatever we had, some kind of meat that's in the refrigerator. So I'll have like a diced up hamburger or diced up like Italian sausage. I'll put it in the pan with the olive oil, dice it, and then cook the green peppers, and then put 4 eggs in there and throw some cheese and have like a 4-egg omelet with, you know, that kind of stuff. but we never had to go to the store to buy vegetables because we started a garden now. And the cucumbers, for my daughter plays lacrosse and they play basketball. And so for the games, we'll just cut out these real thin slices of cucumber and put them in the refrigerator for a couple hours before we go to the game. And then after the game, we'll give each one of the kids a bag of cold cucumbers instead of just drinking, Gatorade sports drinks and stuff. They eat cold, wet cucumbers with water. And that's kind of like their get healthy kind of after the game kind of meal from us. So we do that, and then I tried doing lettuce. We had butter lettuce last year. I think it was what it was called, and it was absolutely awesome. It was great, but it was so for a 2-week period, it all came up. We make hamburgers. I go outside, I pick 15 pieces of lettuce off this plant, put it right on a hamburger, and start eating. It was absolutely awesome. So this year we're getting better and better. I can't wait for our garden this year.
I love that. It's like making, whenever I get anything, it just comes from the store. So, it's not quite nice.
That's my newest hobby now as far as that goes. But I think you said before that you were such a big chess, almost a chess prodigy back in the day.
Yeah, but we're talking about 10 years ago at this point, and probably even more. When that was really a hobby for me, that was a long time ago.
What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid?
A world chess champion, but other than that, I originally wanted to be a doctor. That did not work out. So, yeah. Then I went,
I was in Bridgeport yesterday with 4 doctors and 2 nurses, and they had this conversation with me saying, I'm like, well, you guys are doctors, or I'm eating elk and bison and buffalo burgers here. I'm like, this is the life right now. There's IPA beers, and we were drinking some kind of whiskey from China and some kind of whiskey from Scotland and I'm like, this is the life. And they're like, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you how many days of my life where I got up and dreaded getting out of bed and going to work, because you don't think I'd ever want to just be an electrician or just be a carpenter or just be a guy working at Walmart saying, hey, come on in, welcome to the store. There's so much pressure sometimes with this job, and I absolutely hate it sometimes, because sometimes it's great, but the lawsuits and the everything going wrong, and you cut somebody open thinking it's one thing and it's something else. Now you're kind of like, what do I do? The stress of the job, and the hours they put in is absolutely terrible. So
both my parents are doctors, so I know.
Yeah, I mean, they got to come home with stories that you couldn't believe before. Too. Both my brothers are both Chicago cops, and they deal with a bunch of shit all the time. But
yeah, no, I feel that.
What was the? I heard this question on somebody else's podcast, and I wanted to ask: if you could jump into a pool of something, what would it be?
Oh my God!
I thought these questions were fun.
I could jump into a pool.
A pool of anything.
Oh, $100 bills.
That's the best answer I heard so far. I heard pudding and
fuck that. $100 bills. Come on, I want. Let me at least get some money when I get out.
There you go. What's your most embarrassing childhood memory?
Oh my God. I don't know if I can. There's a lot of these I think are just not suitable for a podcast.
You don't got to say if you don't want to. We can move on. It's up to you.
But oh yeah, I mean, there's just so many. Probably I'll tell the fish story. So I had a fish, and I just thought that I didn't have to feed it. I thought that the fish just lived forever, and it was an immortal fish, and I didn't have to feed it or anything. But I found out later that what was actually happening was the fish kept dying when I was out, and my mom didn't want to tell me it died. So she just went to the store and replaced it and flushed the old fish down the toilet. So, I learned nothing from this experience, but I also learned that I should never have any pets ever. Because I didn't know I had to feed the fish. Oops. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the goldfish population. My bad. I was a bad, I don't know, what was I, 6 or 7 year old child? I am so sorry. I did not know I had to feed you.
Well, you don't have any pets now?
Oh, no. Never again. No. You don't want me to have a pet.
I got 4 dogs, 2 guinea pigs. We had fish for a while that just finally died. They were betas. We had them. My son bought them in college, brought them home. They're like, oh, they're only supposed to last for 3 months. Here we are. a year and a half later, and these fish are still floating around. They finally one died, and then like 3 weeks later, the other one died. I'm like, thank goodness. It's like I don't even want to. It's like having a zoo here sometimes, and you get home from work. All these dogs are barking and stuff, but they were all our neighbors, and my brother gave us a dog. My brother had 4 kids, and he bought a dog, a golden retriever, and he thought, oh, I'll have the kids grow up with this dog. Golden retrievers are super wild when you first get them, you know. So it was like jumping on the dogs and scratching them and all. He's like, I can't take it. Can you take this dog? I'm like, I already have 3 dogs. I'm not taking your dog. It is what it is. So he went on vacation, asked us to babysit his dog for a week, a week and a half. And they're like, oh, you like it, you can keep it. I'm like, no, we like it, but it's going back to you. And then a week later, when I was at work, he talked my wife into going to pick up the dog and bringing it over here. So we have our neighbor's dog behind us who moved. We have my brother's dog and a rescue dog from one of the hockey games that had Girl Scout cookie cook-off night with only women and girls allowed, Girl Scouts. So it was the moms and the daughters show up. And what did they have the same night? Adopt a dog night. So
my God.
there's no dads there to say, no, you're not bringing this effing dog home, put it back, do whatever. So probably half this thing went home with dogs. And I come home, I told my wife, if we get a dog, I want a colorful dog that's a female, that's like personable. That's what she comes home with. And I'm like, I don't want a dog that barks. Well, she came home with a black male schnauzer that barks all the time. I'm like, this is exactly what I told you I did not want. And this is what I got now to live for the next 10 years of my life. Oh, it's terrible. So anyway, we got that dog barks and sets off a chain reaction of like 50. It sounds like a wolf, like a pack of wolves in the zoo. It's like, but you know, it is what it is. So I got 4 kids. They each have their own dog, and they're like, this is my dog. This is my dog.
Oh, well.
So yeah, I lost. That's being a dad's a losing proposition. So don't try it.
I'm not sure that I will. Who knows?
All right. So current events in the NFL right now. Let's move on to something like a little bit more important. Sam Darnold will be the Panthers quarterback for the next 2 years after Carolina sent a few picks over to get him. I heard your take on the Dynasty Duo, which is nice, and it's a new find, by the way, like we were talking about. But please elaborate why Sam Darnold, where you got him ranked, and why he will be the quarterback 1 moving forward.
I did not rank him very high. Did not rank him very high. I believe once rookies are included, he comes in as my quarterback 27.
It's terrible. You're so wrong.
I'm wrong.
Yeah,
really? Tell me why am I wrong?
He was on the Jets with nothing. He had that coaching. The players around him were terrible. And then he had mono. He had so many problems with injuries and mono. And you don't just come back from mono. It's not like you broke your thumb and you came back. He didn't have a chance to go there. Now he's got McCaffrey. He's got DJ Moore. He's got actually a defense. He's got
fair enough. Let me put you to the test then.
Go ahead.
So I said 27, right?
Yep.
Would you rather, let's take a look at this rookie class.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather Trevor Lawrence or Sam Darnold? This is an easy question. Let's think about it.
It's easy. It's easy because Trevor Lawrence has been the quarterback 1 since 7th grade. So he's going to come in the NFL. I mean, he's going to be, hopefully he doesn't turn into Andrew Luck and get killed back there, and he's the best thing that ever happened.
I hope this is an easy question.
It's an easy question. It's Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence will probably be a top 12 quarterback just coming, especially because the Jaguars have so much talent already on the team.
They do.
Receivers. Yeah. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Easy one. What about Justin Fields?
I like Justin Fields. I definitely like him. I feel like he's got some accuracy issues. I feel like he is more of a, I don't think he's, like people say that Cam Newton was so good. Cam Newton was a good running quarterback. He's not very accurate. I don't want to really compare him so much to Cam Newton because they have different styles, but he's a running guy and he does take a lot of hits. I mean, he tries to make things happen. He knows those guys. I mean, pocket quarterbacks just tend to last so much longer in this league. And there's flash in the pants Lamar Jacksons and Michael Vicks and guys like that who, even Tim Tebow was terrible, so I can't really compare him. But awful. Steve Young was good for a while, but he didn't last long. He got beat up real fast too. But I just think that
you'd have to take Justin Fields over just coming in over 3 years of awful. That's the thing. I'd rather start over with any of these rookies. I'd rather start over with Mac Jones.
I love Mac Jones.
Just as a clean slate than Darnold. We already have 3 years of terrible.
Darnold's only 23 years old, though.
Right, but we've already seen. I'd rather just think about it this way. I'd rather take unknown box over here than take box where we've already seen 3 years of bad. Like, I'd rather just have a totally blank slate than have 3 years of bad on the resume. That's the reason why I'd prefer any of the rookies to Sam Darnold rather easily.
I'm not in a Sam Darnold soapbox, first of all. So I don't want to say that I'm Sam Darnold's biggest fan, but I do think that he is underrated at 20, 26, 27, 28.
But if you look at it though, like who do you, I wonder like who I have ahead of him, who you have behind him. Like
Sam Darnold's floor is 4,000 passing yards and 18 or 22 touchdowns, whatever. Let's just say. So that's his floor. That's what he did on a terrible offense.
You got to look at the QB rankings though. Like to give you an idea, like Kirk Cousins is like my QB 20.
Kirk Cousins is not bad.
And I'd rather have Kirk Cousins than Sam Darnold. So like if you look at it that way, it's suddenly not so ridiculous.
Just because Justin Jefferson and just because the couple players on that team that are going to be, Dalvin Cook.
He's QB 20.
What?
He's QB 20.
Yeah, but I mean, there's the first 7 quarterbacks are unquestionable.
Yeah,
okay, and then you get to like 8, 9, 10, all the way to like 18. Those guys are going to be like 15 or 20 points of each other in rankings.
Yeah, you'd still rather have like Burrow or Russell Wilson.
Would I want Burrow now? Like I said, I don't think he's going to start this year. I don't think he's going to play this year.
But in Dynasty, you're telling me that you'd rather Burrow. I'd much rather have Burrow than Darnold. I mean, those two are not close. I mean,
I didn't like Burrow coming out to begin with.
Really? So. Oh, you didn't like Burrow? Oh, so I was a big fan of Burrow coming out.
I mean, everybody was because he was a popular pick.
Not everybody. There were some people who didn't like Burrow coming out. It wasn't universal. It's not like Trevor Lawrence where everyone likes him.
Everybody loves Trevor Lawrence. Everybody, yes. So
there were some people who didn't like Burrow.
I'm okay with around the 20th, 22, 20. It just seems like when you get to 26, 27,
it's just if you look at it. So essentially, my guess is you just looking at my rankings. My guess is that if you actually sat down and did the exercise, you'd probably have him around 23. Like
probably.
The guys that I have above him that I think you would disagree with would be Jared Goff. I think you would disagree. I think you would prefer Darnold. I have Derek Carr above him. I bet you would disagree. And I also have, maybe you'd disagree on Daniel Jones. I have Daniel Jones above him. Maybe you'd disagree on that. And maybe Matt Ryan as well because he's older. So, and maybe those are the 4. And if you really hate Carson Wentz, I could see maybe Carson Wentz also being below him. So that would get him to 22. I don't see the other guys then next would be Kirk Cousins and Mac Jones. And it's hard for me to see the argument for Darnold above those guys. So 22, I think is, if you really looked at it, I think 22 is like his ranking ceiling. And I might have him, I do have like, I probably have him about the lowest of that you could at 27. It would be hard to be much lower. I think you could have Brady ahead of him, who I have behind him. You could have him at 28, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I just went tuning to DLF right now to see where they have Sam Darnold, and they have him at 25. They have him below Drew Lock, which I don't agree with. They have him.
Well, I disagree with that. I disagree with. Yeah.
Okay, so Sam Darnold's 25. Drew Lock's 24. I disagree with that. Jimmy Garoppolo's 23. I disagree with that.
I disagree with that. But they haven't included the rookies. They haven't included the rookies in the rankings. So, right? I mean, they haven't included them on DLF.
No, they have not. But that's going to push Darnold down even further now. So
right, but that's what I'm saying. So if you push him ahead of the 3 guys that Garoppolo, Locke, and Brady that I said I disagreed with, and then put in 5 rookies, he gets to 27. Like I said, like it's not crazy. Like it sounds crazy, but then if you actually like look at the DLF rankings, like the highest I could see him with rookies included is around 22, like even for an optimist.
I see possibly the 3 big name rookies being ahead of him. Let's just say the top 4 rookies being ahead of him right now. But I see 3 or 4 guys that he's ranked behind right now. So at 25, I think with the 4 rookies and some adjustments, he'll probably be 23. In my
23
rankings.
for you, yeah. So again, a very fair, but like 27, if you're at 23 and I'm on 27, like 27 is not as crazy as it sounded like when we started. It's the quarterback is very deep in some ways. Like there's a lot of good, there's a lot of good quarterbacks at the top. Like, it's just hard. You can't put him ahead of guys like Kirk Cousins who've just been good.
And you got he's behind Tom Brady, which I think Tom Brady's got probably 1 year left.
Brady's too old for me, so I'd rather take my chances with Darnold personally.
And Matt Ryan, what happens if Julio's gone this year? What is Matt Ryan going to be? I know he's still got Calvin Ridley, but
the thing is with Matt Ryan, I know that I have 2 years left.
You do is right. It's all guaranteed money up front.
Yeah,
right?
So I'm a little bit more willing to take my chances with Ryan than given that Darnold has just been bad. Then he's been bad. I mean, there's no way to slice it any other way other in his career so far that he's been bad. I mean, there's no way to say that he's been good because he hasn't. He's been bad.
So here's my trick question for you now. I guess I'm going to put it this way. Okay, these two guys, Jalen Hurts. I don't see him lasting more than just one more year in this league.
Let's talk about Jalen Hurts. I think he's very risky. I had an article published on him. Yesterday on DLF. So good timing for that question.
All right.
Yes, I said that he's very risky. I think that he is in an audition at this point. He's in an audition for his starting job, kind of like what Gardner Minshew was undergoing last year. Although Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do quite as well to succeed. If he leads them to even an 8-9 season, now we have 17 games, an 8-9 season, that'll probably be enough for him to keep his job. Mm-hmm. But if they're 4-13, he's being replaced. Like if they have a top 10 pick and they have 2 additional first-round picks on top of that, don't forget that.
Right.
They traded with the Colts. That's probably going to be a first-round pick, and they traded with the Dolphins for a first-round pick.
So you have to move up go back to 12, yeah.
So if they will have likely 3 first-round picks. If Hurts leads them to a 3-14 season or 4-13 season, that's it. His job is gone. Mm-hmm. So he needs to at least be decent. Otherwise, he's losing his job. So he's risky. If you're in a super flex format, you could have one more year. He's a risk. There's just no way to see it any other way other than that. I completely agree. He's
12 on DLF. Where do you have him?
Too high for me. I mean, I have him at, so let's see, 13, 14. I have him lower. I have him at, it's hard to say on the rookies exactly where I'd put them, but I would probably have him at 16 with the rookies included, 13 without. So I'd be one spot behind them on what DLF is showing without the rookies. I'd have him at 13.
I think that's being generous, but I understand I totally understand that. So
I wonder what the difference is between me and them. Who I have ahead that they have behind.
Well, I don't want to give away all their secrets on the podcast here, but at the same time,
we don't want to give it away. But yes, I see
the two Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson,
these are
Deshaun Watson.
Well, Deshaun Watson is hard to rank, but that's a whole, and we'll get into that when we get into the team that we're going to cover because Deshaun Watson is on that roster. But that's a whole other ranking. Deshaun Watson is basically impossible at this stage. Like. I try my best to rank him somewhere, but no matter where I rank him, it's gonna be wrong. Like I can't rank him correctly, if that makes sense. There's no way to do that. It's going to be wrong no matter what. Are you muted? Can't hear you. Or am I muted?
My thing pulled out, I guess, on the side.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to You're muted again.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. How do you feel about Lamar Jackson in the future?
I feel okay with him. I mean, I like him. I think he's going to get a contract extension from the Ravens, and I think they're going to build their whole team around him. I don't know how many years he has left. I think it's more like 4, 5, or 6 and not 10 or 15 like some of the other top quarterbacks. But in Dynasty, I think he has enough longevity that I'm not concerned about it yet.
Okay.
I'm not looking that many years ahead, if that makes sense.
Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow threw so many passes. I don't think I'd like to see sit down one day and really burn into how accurate he was compared to how many passes he had to throw. And he had a lot of pocket time too. He ran for his life a lot, but he got sacked a lot. But at the same time, I wrote a whole
article about him too, just as we mentioned earlier. So yeah, I did look at that.
I'd love to see I don't believe in Joe Burrow just because of the. I'll read your article because I don't think I saw it before.
Go for it. It's up there.
I don't believe in Burrow. I just think that he's, especially now getting hurt. I think he's, when quarterbacks get especially sacked like 65 times, whatever it was last year, and you have a major injury like that, he's not going to be as mobile as he was before. He's always going to be worried about that same pain that happened. You're in football. I had each of my ankles broken 3 times. I had stingers in my shoulders and a couple, things that, and you just can't come back. And those things are always in your head. Like, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. You can't, with an NFL quarterback, you can't have anything in your head except where the receiver is going to be, when I need to throw the ball, not all the rest of these situations going on. I don't. Yeah. I just feel like he's not going to be the same quarterback.
I totally get that fear. It's just that he's so young and just starting his career that I'm not willing to say that he's going to be that way forever. That's the only thing. Like, I think he's going to get past that.
Okay.
I understand that concern. It's reasonable to feel that way. I mean, it was a terrible knee injury. He tore every ligament.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Like I said, when all the rest of these doctors have all chimed in and kind of gave their informed decisions, and as time progresses, we'll find out the truth.
Yeah, we published one doctor's opinion, but there are other opinions out there. So I encourage people to go check out everyone's opinion. Not just Jeff's. There's lots of people who have an opinion on the Burrow issue. So that's what the Twitter doctors are there for. They're great. They're great follows, and I suggest that, go ask them.
The Bengals released Giovanni Bernard, and as the cool kids say, it's Joe Mixon season. That's and then Gio turns around and turns the tables and signed a crowded Buccaneers backfield. It seems like
why
it's the place to be right now with Tampa Tom, just trying to get a ring.
Rest in peace to Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, what the hell?
What a disaster.
Up until this offseason, they were still talking him up and saying, hey, that, this is, it's almost like the Buccaneers became the Patriots, talking shit about everybody, oh, he's going to be the best. He's going to do this. He's going to do this and that. They learned that whole, the blowing smoke up everybody's butt kind of
a bunch mentality. Of nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, Giovanni Bernard is a great complimentary back for just a small, like a 3 or 4 person timeshare.
I don't want any of these people. This is a disaster.
This hurt playoff Lenny the most, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Because Lenny was going to have that pass catching role, and now I don't know what they're doing. I just don't want any of these guys. I don't think you're going to be able to trust these players in fantasy. I don't want them.
Yeah,
I don't want them on my team.
Aaron Rodgers will host the popular TV show Jeopardy, but only for fun. He has no plans of retiring, but this smells a little funny. I don't know why.
You're not the first person to say that. I feel like, was it Mike Florio said that on NBC Sports? I think he said something. Maybe he was joking, but I'm pretty sure he said something like that about this kind of being a funny career move. I don't think he's retiring, but I do think he's not happy with the Packers.
100%. I think he's not happy with the Packers. And I've heard 50 variations of this on different podcasts, and I read them on Twitter about this and that and everybody else's assumptions. And everybody said it's not a big deal because the way Jeopardy works is you tape 4 shows a day for a month, and then you have nothing to worry about besides. But that's a lot of time. Other guys are in the film room. You see Tom Brady, who was working with Chris Godwin and everybody else, especially with COVID. These guys, Tom needs to spend time with all these receivers in the offseason to kind of, if they plan to go back to the Super Bowl, you can't just say, hey, we won a Super Bowl, we're just going to go back and do it again without even practicing. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. Way too competitive.
I don't like this. Is the situation between Rodgers and the Packers is way bigger than him appearing on a Jeopardy show.
Yes.
This is just a mess. I mean, they declined to restructure his contract.
Right.
They could have to free up cap space. They declined to do that. At any time, they can convert some of his 2021 salary into a signing bonus without even asking him. They've so far declined to do that. Why? Because they're going to get rid of him after 2021. That's what they've said. Yep. They could have committed to him for multiple years, just like Atlanta did with Matt Ryan. They restructured his contract, pushing his cap in 2022 to commit to him for a second year. Packers have not done that and not going to do that because for some reason, they're on this idea that they're going to transition to Jordan Love for the 2022 season. That's their plan. And they good luck with that. Good luck with that because we have no idea if Jordan Love is actually any good. None. No, zero. We have no idea. I mean, he could be good. He could be bad. I mean, we have no clue.
Right.
So If you're a Packers fan, I think that you are in for a world of hurt after this year.
Agreed. Especially with the way they messed up the draft and then they going for that field goal instead of trusting him to throw a touchdown.
Let's talk about that draft.
Terrible.
This is what they did. They spent the first round pick on a backup quarterback.
Yep.
Then the second round pick on a running back. Third string in 2020. And then they re-signed the incumbent starter to a massive contract. So why did we pick a running back? And why was a running back picked in the second round? I have no idea. And then the third round pick is spent on a tight end fullback.
Yep.
Who never saw the field, never did anything, and they had a much better player in a similar position in Robert Tonyan.
Yep.
So what was this draft? They essentially took their first 3 picks and just lit them all on fire. Yep. So what a great plan from the Packers front office. It's just a disaster, and they're going to be paying the price for these decisions. They're in a salary cap nightmare. They're not restructuring Aaron Rodgers' contract. This is it. This is their last chance, and if they don't get it done, the whole team is going to be completely torn to shreds. That's what's going to happen.
Man, it's the truth. It's terrible to watch it because the Packers are, I live in Chicago and I'm a Dolphins fan, and the Bears are my second favorite team just because the ownership of the Bears is disgustingly terrible. So I still root for the Bears because I live around here and everybody else is a Bears fan. If I went out and, I can't cheer for the Packers or the Vikings or the Lions, just because it's just not growing up a Bears fan. I just can't. It's in my blood to just hate everybody else around here. But I just, I don't know. I don't know.
I have no idea what they're doing, and they're going to regret it. Very soon. It's going to be a disaster.
It's bad. But San Francisco put Jimmy GQ on the block for a first-round pick, which I don't think we're going to get.
Good luck with that. San Francisco. I think that the only people who think Jimmy G is worth a first-round pick are in your office.
Yes.
And that is not going to happen. You may be able to give him away if you release him and save the $25 million against your salary cap that you can do by releasing him. No, he is not worth anything. I'm not paying I will not be paying $27 million as an NFL franchise to have the privilege of Jimmy Garoppolo's often injured, below average quarterback play on my team.
Another guy. Right. Yeah, he is worth another guy that runs too much, gets out of the pocket. It's not very accurate. Kind of, it's so I get it. I wish
he's worth something at $6 million, but I am not paying 27. I do not want to pay $27 million to have Jimmy Garoppolo on my team.
Especially in a salary cap handcuffed year.
Yeah, there's just no way. I'm not paying that.
Right. That is. I mean, I don't know. I want Mac Jones to go in that offense so bad, just for the. I don't think it's going to happen.
I want Fields there personally.
Mac Jones just throws guys open. He doesn't like. It's not like he's ever putting the ball behind somebody. He might overthrow guys a tad bit sometimes, but he just stands back. He finds where it's at. And if you're going to be throwing,
that's not where I want Mac Jones though.
Where do you want him?
Well, the problem is so the thing is they have a lot of motion behind the line. They use Debo and Ayuk in motion roles. Mm-hmm. So I want a quarterback who can move all over the place. That's why I want Justin Fields or even Trey Lance to go there. Where I would want Mac Jones to go is Denver. He can actually deliver the ball to Jerry Jeudy, because look at last year. Jerry Jeudy had one of the highest percentages of uncatchable balls from the failure that is Drew Lock, complete and utter failure. Drew Lock, I stopped taking him seriously after he did that interview. He did that interview where he was like, I'm about to throw the pass, and as I release it, in my head, I say, oh no, this is going to be an interception. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
This is the quarterback for your team? This is what the quarterback is saying? As I release the pass, oh no, it's going to be an interception? No. That does not work for me. So I love Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, and I want them to have a pocket passer who can deliver the ball to them open, who can throw to them, hit them when they're open, and who will not do any of what I just described about Drew Lock.
Especially with a Vic Fangio-led defense that's going to keep the score down. It's going to be run the ball, play action all the time, kind of things like that.
They'll
But
have Melvin Gordon, who can play as a workhorse, take a little bit of the load off of Mac Jones. I would love to see him in Denver to replace Drew Lock. But yeah, I want a lot of motion in the San Francisco offense. That's why I want Fields or Lance there, personally.
the problem is there is a lot of motion in that backfield.
Well, I just want more. I want more to work with that. I think someone who's in motion is just going to make it an absolute defensive nightmare. Imagine if you have Ayuk and Debo running motion, and then you also have to account for Justin Fields or Trey Lance's mobility.
Yeah.
Imagine having to scheme for that as a defense.
And have to double cover George Kittle. And have to double cover George Kittle.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about George Kittle. You have to, and if you scheme all of that out, then George Kittle is going to be open. So it's just going to be, I would just love to see that kind of crazy offense with Fields or perhaps Lance there. And I just think that Mac Jones is just another Garoppolo. He's better, significantly better version. But I think that they want to do something different. I don't think they want to kind of roll back the same thing with a small upgrade. You don't trade your whole future for a small upgrade.
Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and the running backs that catch out of the backfield, and George Kittle, all those guys are like catch the ball and beat the shit out of people while they get open and create more yards. They're yak monsters on the team. If you just get a quarterback who can take 3-step drops, do the play action, get these guys all in slants, and just deliver the ball right where it's supposed to be while they're in motion across the middle, like all these guys are. I mean, that offense with a good defense, it would be unstoppable. That team would almost be unstoppable with a good, accurate quarterback. It
would be good. I'm not saying Mac Jones can't succeed there. I just think that Justin Fields would be special there. Whereas Mac Jones, I mean, we saw that Jimmy Garoppolo succeeded when he was healthy. Yeah. And I think Mac Jones could be a better version of that. But I just think that Justin Fields would take them to the next level.
I get it. I understand 100%. Yeah. I just think that Justin Fields might be I mean, I watched him play. The guy's awesome. He had a fantastic game, against LSU. But watching other games that he's played in versus a lot less talent. I just can't Northwestern and who was their team that he played that wasn't that good? It was in Michigan or Indiana. I think it was
Indiana.
And I'm like, what? Oh, you should be. I mean, these are Big Ten games, but these are terrible teams.
You expected better, but I think also the takeaway from this is that all of these 5 quarterbacks are good. I actually think they're all good. I think that they're all potentially they're going to be successful. I really. I just like some of them obviously more than others, but I don't, I think they should all be picked in the top 10.
This is a weird time in our lives where every team there's like a surplus of quarterbacks where guys like Jameis Winston aren't even starting. Like who is it? I understand he throws a lot of interceptions, but there's so much talent in the league. The position is just so saturated, and it's never been that way in my lifetime. I've always seen a handful of good quarterbacks, a lot of average,
a lot of bad ones. Yeah, but this is why Drew Lock will not be starting in 2021 because he is so bad. He is so horrible that they just cannot possibly open another season with him as the starter. That just will not work. You're muted again.
All right. Sorry about that. The Bear. Every time I move my hand, I hit this plug and it unplugs. Sorry about that. The Bears put Anthony Miller on the trade block. We'll see what happens with him. I think he's
worth nothing.
Overrated player, yeah.
Overrated. Well, I don't think he's rated that highly. He is terrible. Terrible. He has apparently had very poor work ethic as well.
Yes, I heard that.
He didn't. Apparently, they were not. The coaching staff really disliked him. That's not a good sign. I don't expect him to succeed in the NFL. I barely think he's worth a roster spot on your dynasty rosters at this point.
Those 7 touchdowns 2 years ago in his rookie year.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's a distant memory.
Yeah. James Conner hit the desert. We'll share the load with Chase Edmonds, another fantasy backfield that got destroyed when by the NFL screw job. But
I think it's about to get worse.
With an extra game season, the depth is king in this league. So it's going to be worse on every team across the board with 3 or 4 running backs.
I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done adding running backs. I mean, Benjamin. Look at what they have there. They have James Conner every year injured. Every year is injured. So they gave him like what, a 1 year? It was like a $1.25 million, $2 million. It was this tiny contract. This is not a big money contract that they gave James Conner. This is tiny. And then they have Chase Edmonds, who every year also is injured. Every year is injured. And every time he gets injured, he takes forever to come back. And every time he can handle like a few carries. And the one time he gets workhorse carries, he's awful. Why? Because he's not a workhorse. He's a backup. So you have a backup, you have someone who's always injured, and you have Eno Benjamin, who has never played. So to me, that does not cut it for an NFL backfield, and I expect that they will add someone in the draft. I do think that this rules out them adding Najee Harris in the first round. I thought that that was a possibility, a little bit unlikely, but it was possible that they would pick Najee Harris at 16. I think that they could still pick a running back in the second round at 49th overall. If Javonte Williams is still there, I expect them to pull the trigger. If somehow Travis Etienne is still there, I expect them to run to the podium. Najee Harris will be gone. But even if one of those guys are all gone, there are other running backs in this class. I mean, Michael Carter could be a possibility. Kenneth Gainwell, if they're looking for more of a pass catcher, could be a possibility. Remember that Edmonds and Connor's contracts, Connor signed a 1-year deal. Edmonds' rookie deal is up after 2021. So the running back is still a need there. I think that there will be another running back added to this room to make the mess, as you said, a bigger mess.
Yeah, Trey Sermon, Drew Hubbard, guys.
Trey Sermon would be a great one, a grinder, a bigger, big back who can take a lot of carries and prevent Connor and Edmonds from getting injured like they do every year.
Right, yeah.
So Trey Sermon would be another good possibility. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, a mess is incoming. I think we agree.
Yeah. All right, some rumorville like around the NFL. Just the Deshaun Watson, rumor gate, the massage gate continues with police report, and it's terrible.
I talked about it. I talked about it. I did a whole monologue on my own podcast about that. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
It's still relatively relevant, but things have changed since then. A
police report been filed, and now the judge is telling everybody they got to come forward if you're accusing him. So this may get rid of, like I heard, Ryan McDowell had a good episode.
I listened to that one with Drew Davenport. It was, I believe, a legal analyst, but he did talk about that. It was on Locked On Dynasty. Locked On Dynasty, yes. Him, Matt Williamson, and Drew Davenport were on that show.
It was very good, yeah.
It was very good. I suggest people listen to that. For a legal, we're no legal experts here. So that one, I think, would be a good one to listen to.
Those Lockdown have like 100 million commercials. That's the only problem, but it's great information.
They do have a lot of commercials. That is true. There are a lot of commercials. It's a fact. You're not wrong that there are a lot of commercials on that show. But that one was 100% worth listening to. It gave a legal insight into the Deshaun Watson situation that you might not get elsewhere. But at the same time, like Drew himself came out on Twitter a couple days after that show and said, "Hey, I did some more research after that show. Things have changed." So there are new developments, and go follow him on Twitter. I don't know his Twitter account, but Drew Davenport. I'm sure if you search it, you'll find it. Yeah. And he's been posting legal updates, so I suggest you follow him for the latest. And it's the kind of thing where, like, I don't know. I have been saying to just get rid of Deshaun Watson from your dynasty teams. I think this looks bad. I don't think he will be playing any football in 2021. I think you're looking at 2022 as the best case scenario. And I think we could be looking at a Michael Vick type situation here, where you're multiple years. He's young enough that he could sit for multiple years and then come back. People have a long memory, but it's not a forever memory. Like, Deshaun Watson will play in the NFL again. Are we talking? What are we talking? Are we talking, like, if I told you that Deshaun Watson was not going to play in the NFL again until 2024, where would he rank in your dynasty rankings? Probably not very high, right? I mean,
it would be tough.
And I think that that's a legitimate possibility. I think there's a legitimate possibility of that. So,
tell me your thoughts on. I'm going to leave you solo on this podcast for 45 seconds while I run to the bathroom, and tell me your thoughts on the Washington football team and their quarterback situation, what they're going to do in the draft.
All right, I'll solo on that.
All right.
So the Washington football team, they have been linked to Trey Lance. They have been. They want to find some way to trade up for Trey Lance. It's been reported on Sleeper, came across Sleeper notification. It came on Twitter, reporters saying that. So I don't see how they're going to do that. They're all the way down at 19th over 20th overall. I don't see how they're going to trade up for Trey Lance. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick. They signed him to a 1-year deal to be their starter. They signed Taylor Heineke to a 2-year contract as their backup. But Fitzpatrick is 38. Taylor Heineke is 28. So those are not really long-term solutions. So, yeah, I think that they're going to need a quarterback, but I don't see how they get any of the top quarterbacks. We know that the top 3 are going to go to the Jaguars. We're still on the Washington football team. But yeah, I was basically just saying that we don't know what's going to happen with them, and it's going to be difficult for them to trade up. So I don't know. They might have to wait, and they could also take a quarterback in the second. Maybe Kyle Trask will be there for them as a long-term option. But I do think that it's tough for them. They're not going to get one of the top 5 guys, and I don't see how they do it, right?
Kellen Mond. There's
he's not one of the top 5 guys though. They'd pick him in the second round.
They're not going to get, like you said before, they're not going to get any of the top 5 guys.
They've been linked to trying to trade up for Trey Lance, but I don't see how that's possible.
No way.
How are they getting up to 4? How are they? They can't. They're too far away.
What if they get Ian Book and turn the whole franchise around?
Yeah, maybe. Ian Book will probably be available in the 6th one if they want it. I do expect them to take a quarterback,
right,
to develop. But I don't know if that's going to be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. I do expect them to take one and try to take a shot on it.
I mean, they're talking about signing Alex Smith right now.
Well, no, they released Alex Smith. So
who is? Oh,
that's the Texans who are talking about signing Alex Smith. But they need a young guy. Like I said, Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke are old. So
the team is starting to. Their team is they're not an embarrassment right now. They're starting to be actually they seem like they have a plan together. So
they're a quarterback away.
Yes.
They just need, they hope Fitzpatrick can carry them through this year, and then they tried to get Matthew Stafford, for example, and it didn't work. Mm-hmm. They just need a quarterback eventually, and they're going to keep doing everything they can to get a franchise guy.
Jimmy, what if Jimmy gets cut?
Jimmy's not an upgrade. I mean, he's fine, but I don't think that's what they have in mind.
No, right.
Personally. So I would say no. If he gets cut, maybe, but they're not going to trade for him.
Right.
If he gets released, someone will sign him.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's going to strike out at quarterback, and they'll sign him.
Right.
I don't see how they would make it work, but Chicago might sign him, or Washington. Or if Denver strikes out on quarterback, they might sign him.
I don't even know if Jimmy G's even an upgrade over Andy Dalton at that point in time in Chicago. I really don't even know that.
I think he is. I think he has more potential, even if they're about the same. I think Jimmy G is younger. We know what Andy Dalton is. We know that Jimmy G might be able to be an upgrade, and I think he's definitely an upgrade over Locke, who.
Yes.
God awful. I would much rather have Garoppolo throwing to Judy and Sutton than Locke if that became an option.
Yeah, right. All right, so I got some commissioner questions for your league, leagues you're in. I know you're talking about dropping a couple leagues here and there. But
yeah, I'm not in that many, but I love these kind of questions because it's a good theoretical exercise.
Are you a waiver wire guy or a fab guy? And it's kind of fab more as waiver wire is more like a redraft thing, and fab is more of a dynasty thing. As far as
I'm
that
fab
goes.
For both. Fab always. I haven't played in the league with any sort of waiver wire system. I didn't play in any this year. I didn't play in any last year. So you'd have to go back to 2018 that I played in any league that didn't use fab.
There are guys who still like waiver wire for the fact of the matter that the bottom guy gets. I think a couple of podcasts ago I talked about where I had a guy who drafted Emmitt Smith the year after he retired, and somebody drafted Emmitt Smith, and I'm like, this is a neighborhood, there's a bunch of neighborhood guys in the league, and they just redraft. Hey, I show up to do the draft, and I'll drink on Sundays in your garage, but I have no idea what's going on, kind of thing. This guy picked up Sean Alexander and Kurt, the Rams quarterback that won the Super Bowl in the greatest show on earth. Kurt, what the hell's his name? Well, anyway, Kurt Warner, and like every week somebody got hurt, and this new guy would step in, and he got and they had awesome career years that year, and he ended up winning the fantasy football championship with this stupid, the worst draft roster ever because of the waiver wire. He had first pick after like week 3. He kept, he'd lose, but he started like 0-5 or 0-6, and all of a sudden he had Sean Alexander and Kurt Warner, and I think it was who was Torrey Holt or something like that was just busted out of nowhere. I'm like, and he ended up winning, and I'm like, what the hell? This is crap. Fab makes things so much more interesting, so much more even. And on top of that, like I have all my Fab budgets at $1,000, not just $100. Some people have 100, 200.
I like that.
Because I want to win. If it's Fab, I don't want any ties and have who put in first. I want it to hurt more.
To make it clear, yeah. That's a good way of doing it.
When you lose a guy because you bet $230, somebody bid $231. You're like, damn it!
I love it. I do like the $1,000 budget, but I'm kind of okay with any budget.
Yeah. Do you like bonuses of all kinds of scoring, or do you like to keep it simple?
I like to keep it simple. Bonuses don't do anything for me. I think I'm not really a big fan.
You're killing me. I want every game to be 237 to 235.
Hey, with no like bonuses at all, I put up over 300 points in the Trade Addicts final. So wow. I'll take that as my outburst of scoring. I didn't need those bonuses. They were not necessary.
How many players are in the starting lineup?
10.
You scored 300 points with 10 players in this fantasy football.
It was more than 300.
Holy shit! Nice job. I think I heard that in our podcast.
It was close to a Trade Addicts record, I believe. I've never let them live this. I've never really let them live this down. But it wasn't or it might have actually been a record, honestly. Like I'm not 100% sure exactly. But yeah, I was very happy with the score. It was against Matt Price. 307.6.
I think Russ actually mentioned this when I had him on here about how that you had scored awesome. It was real quick. I kind of I think he had mentioned you and that you had scored like the record or number 2 ever on this league, and everybody's super pissed off. Like man, this is bullshit. This guy's awesome. He came in and returned his team around, and so. But it's good. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, this was the first year we did the startup in 2020, so I won, and now my team was falling apart. So what I've managed to do is I traded away everyone. Now I won my title with all the old players, and then I didn't pay the price for it. I traded away everything. I have 4 first-round picks in 2022 and 4 first-round picks in 2023. And on top of that, I still have core players like I have Lamar Jackson, Cam Akers, AJ Brown as like 3 core players, and I still have 4 firsts next year and 4 firsts in 2023. So I'm gonna build my team the right way, but I got my title first and then ripped everything to shreds. So that title pays for a lot of years of buy-ins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's this was the first year.
Actually, it doesn't, because I gave the whole prize away.
To who?
You know that story?
Refresh my memory if I don't know it yet.
I gave the whole prize away to James LeBrain's family.
Oh, that's right. Okay. James LeBrain was he was in one of our home leagues. So he was in my backyard a couple times. I met him at the bar a couple times. Man. And he was a super awesome guy, man. He'd drive from Whitewater, Wisconsin, all the way to Plainfield, Illinois, which it's like 2.5-hour drive just to do a live local league draft in my backyard twice a year. Just always. And I did a couple podcasts with him. I was in, the other drafts we were at. He'd show up too. Guy was awesome.
I miss him. I mean, he's one of those people that I'm kind of sad I never got to meet. I mean, he didn't know me very well, but I interacted with him on a post or 2 here and there, and I remember it. Like I still remember it because it's just so chilling that one day he was just gone. Yeah. Think about that. Like that's just kind of. I was following his Twitter like the day before, and then he's gone. And like, think about like how just crazy that is. Like
he had a lot of stress in his life. I had a lot of personal conversations with James about what he did and what he did for his work and what he did for fantasy football and all the stuff he put in and rankings and writing and podcasts. And he was on every day of the week. He was on podcasts 5 days a week with somebody else doing something, and the stuff he did with I don't want to go into his personal life too much, but he, the guy ran himself ragged, and it's, he was such an awesome guy with such a great football mind. And I mean, I honestly am convinced that I think he probably had 300 or 400 people inbox him, and he took the time to answer 100 questions from each one of them every week, like just out of his own personal, like, being awesome.
I miss him. I mean, I really do. I think he's the only like person I've really known in the industry who's like died since I've entered it that I knew at all. So like, that's just kind of still a very shocking moment for me. I mean, I remember when it happened, like I was just kind of sad for like a week, honestly, or more. Like it was just, I don't know. It was bad. It was really sad, the whole story. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know him particularly well, but like I knew of him, like I knew of his work, and like I knew that he was someone that was like a special voice in the community. And it was hard.
He was a special voice. That's right.
There's no other way to say it other than that it was hard. And like I still remember some of the things he said to me. Like there wasn't much, but like some of the comments he had on my posts, like that's I don't know. That's all I have left, right? It's like it's one of those people, like I wish I had gotten the chance to meet him. Like I wish I had known him. Like, and I'm sad I never did. Right?
Yeah. Nice message from his phone, say from I think it was his sister or somebody texted out, said, just that we're turning off the phone number for James's phone. This will be less interaction you have with him. And I'm like, fuck. That made it real kind of for me.
It's just it's brutal, but it's all we can do is just remember what what he brought to us. Like we're still talking about him now, and I don't think that. I don't think I'm ever going to forget about him. I still have thought about him to this day.
Yeah. What's the best year to implement a taxi squad and a startup draft?
A number of years eligible or number of years.
When should you start a taxi squad? And when let's say you're doing a startup draft. Okay. When do you have a taxi squad? Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5.
Pardon me? Yeah, immediately. Like you have your startup draft, and if you have the startup draft and rookie draft separately, you just start the taxi squad year 1. I think, right? I mean, that's what Trade Addicts does.
Well, see, this is what in my leagues that I start. Year 1 is we draft 25 players, and then year 2 we have a rookie draft of 5 players, and then we expand our rosters to 30 players. Okay. And then year 3 we implement a taxi squad. Okay, I'm fine with that. If you get lucky with all your picks and all your rookie picks on year 1, it's such an unfair advantage in Dynasty. So I like to have stages where people can make adjustments, and people can like, oh shit, I did this, or I made these bad moves. If you just somebody's just handed the title for the first 4 years because they drafted awesome, they have a whole stable of rookies coming in. Let's just say you got lucky and got Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, and a couple other good. Rookies this year, and you already had a stacked team. So.
I get that. It reduces if you expand so I'm fine with players and leagues expanding the rosters over time. If that's how you want to do it, the way you described it, I'm fine with that because it reduces the edge on someone who had a great startup. I totally see that. So yeah, I'm fine with that. It's not how I do it. I would just do it. The roster's the same from the beginning, but. I don't have any issue with that. I'd be totally fine with it. I'm not really a big preference on that one.
What would it take for you to leave a league?
Oh, I mean, I've left them. What would it take?
Like how much bullshit would you put up with people MFing you or
not much.
Some people not calling in
Very
lineups?
Little. Very little. I have no, look, one of the leagues I left, I was the 2-time defending champ and I still left. Like, it wasn't because I was not winning. Like, it was because I just didn't like it anymore. Like, a lot of it's what I said. Like, am I the best league mate in the world? Probably not. Like, I'm okay. Like, the best part about me is that I'm active. You send me a trade offer, I will respond to it. Like, I won't keep you waiting. I will respond to your trade offer. I will send you trade offers. I will be active on the waiver wire. I will participate in the league 100% fully, always. I don't take breaks. So that's the best part. but that's like my only real selling point as a league mate. I'm kind of like, I'll do anything to win. Like, again, it's hard. Talking to my league mates, like I've built some good friendships with some of them, but a lot of the time, like I'm just too competitive. Like, and sometimes it gets to the point, it's easier for me now because people now, when I join a league, or they know me, they know who I am. They know I'm a fantasy football expert. They're not going to try to send me like garbage trade offers, or they're not going to try to like trick me into doing something stupid. That they know that that's not going to work. Like that's not going to happen. That they're wasting their time. They should try to trick someone else. Like that's nobody ever picks on me anymore. So it's a little bit easier now. Like now that I'm well known, but still, I just think that like, I guess I like, this is going to sound really pretentious, but I'll say it anyway. Like, I like being treated like the dynasty expert I think I am. Like, and that sounds pretentious, right? But like, hey, like I've published over 200 dynasty articles. There are not many people who can say that. Like, I have put in the body of work here. Like, I'm not just saying I'm a dynasty expert and I'm just like, anyone can say that. But like, I have massive article like logs at 2 different websites, plus a podcast, plus my Twitter following. I take questions every day. People come and ask me them. Like, I'm not just saying I'm a dynasty expert. Like, I've done the work and like proven it. So like, and I don't know. I just like when people are like giving me like bullshit in leagues, like, it's not always even a fault thing. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's just, maybe we just shouldn't be in a league together. And I'm quick to say like, hey, like I'm good. Like, that's what I said in the league I left. I was just like, you guys are going to have more fun in this league without me. And I'm not really having fun in this league despite winning it. I didn't say that, but that's like, clearly that didn't impact my decision. I had a great team and I still left. Yeah. So like, you know, they had no issue, believe me, filling my orphan. I believe they did a dispersal, and I believe the guy who took over, they did a dispersal, but the guy was like, who got my roster like temporary, was like, oh, can I just keep this one? Because I still have friends, you know. One of my friends is very close friends is still in that league, so I've heard about it. But yeah, I left, and it was just, I think everyone is happier. They're happier not to have me, and I'm happier not to be there. So yeah, I think when it comes to leagues nowadays, I was supposed to do Outhouse's Russ's Harry Potter league, and I just decided, like, I had a moment like 2-3 weeks ago where it was just like a lot of like fighting on Twitter over like multiple different things, and I was just like, I'm sorry, like I really was excited for this league, but I just have a feeling that this is going to go the same way as the other ones. And if I feel that way, I just shouldn't be in it in the first place. So like, give my Gryffindor spot to someone else. And like, I'm sorry, but I just shouldn't, this is not going to be good for me to do this. And like, and that's and it's unfortunate. I like playing fantasy football, but I think I like things like Scott Fishbowl, where like there's no trading and no one can talk to me, and I just play my solitaire. Like, at this point, I think I'm happier with that.
Yeah. What's your favorite host site for fantasy football?
I mean, MFL or I'm very middling between MFL and Sleeper. I hate all the other ones. Yeah. But I see benefits to both MFL and Sleeper. I debate them. For me, I think I prefer Sleeper.
You for a guy like you who does not like all the bonuses and all the pomp and circumstance and all that stuff, Sleeper's perfect for you.
I don't play Devi and I don't play IDP either. So since I don't play those two things, I'm fine with Sleeper. MFL's lack of a mobile app, MFL devs, if you are listening to me, you are killing your market share. Get a real mobile app. You would take Sleeper and stamp them out of existence if you did that. They need a real. I'm just like dev team at MFL. Like, you guys are missing as someone who has a master's degree in sports management from Columbia, I am telling you that as a business decision, you are making a big mistake. You should have a dedicated mobile app. There is no excuse in 2021 not to. And I think most people agree on that. It's just, I can't see the business logic behind that decision.
100%, because I like we have all these bonuses, and I've been in, I'm in a bunch of leagues too that are, I was in a couple that are on MFL for the reason of years of service and contract money, and
you
all
can't
this.
Do that on Sleeper, yeah.
You can't. Well, you can't. So you need MFL to do all these, deadlines and all this other, the $1 million things that MFL is great for, but I don't expect Sleeper to have all that kind of stuff.
Me
you don't need all that mumbo jumbo. But at the same time, as a commissioner, I've said this before, like MFL is everybody else in school. When you show up for your day one of fourth grade, and everybody's got the 16 pack of crayons, and you show up with the big box of 350 crayons with a sharpener in the back, and that's MFL. MFL could do anything. You could probably there's probably a way to find like offensive lineman pancakes on the NFL. And get
there
points
probably
for that
is.
kind of
Yeah. I wouldn't know.
If they just had I tried to implement an MFL like in 3 different startups. And the guys it's a lot, like half the guys who are in MFL already, like, yes, 100% MFL. But 9 of the 12 people were like, no, I'm on Sleeper. I've been on ESPN. I don't want anything that's sophisticated. Or not. Everybody that's in my leagues are all cops and firemen and construction workers and doctors, stuff like that. So they don't have, it's probably good for a guy. I don't know what you do for a living as far as, but if you sit behind in a desk all day long and just click over to the next bar and MFL's right there, I'm sure it's awesome to do it on MFL on the tabletop. Or on the laptop is phenomenal.
It's great, yeah. But if you do mobile, it's terrible.
And everybody says, "Oh, just keep it open in Safari." And it's still not the same.
It's terrible. It's terrible. As someone who's used it before, it's terrible on any mobile. Whether you use the third-party apps or their mobile site, it's awful.
Yeah. So I think
Sleeper actually has to work on their desktop product. They're mobile first, and their desktop product is pretty bad.
There's going to be somebody's going to come around that sees the difference in Sleeper and MFL, and in 2 years from now, we're going to find, we're going to find some new company called whatever that just kind of nailed the app and the website and just runs with it.
They just nail everything, yeah. Because
that'll be the end of ESPN and Yahoo and CBS and Sleeper and MFL, and they'll all be gone.
Yeah, there's going to be something that takes all the good parts of Sleeper and all the good parts of MFL and puts it into one company and just stamps those 2 out of existence.
Well, you're a sports marketing guy. Come on, get in there.
This is exactly my area of expertise. That's why I would, in that capacity, I would advise MFL to take the threat of mobile seriously, which they are not doing. They are making I'm just telling them, like, they told us this all the time, like mobile is the future, and honestly, like mobile is the present, and more advanced technologies is the future, and they can't even master the present. They are making a massive mistake, and they need to create an in-house mobile app. There is just no excuse in 2021 not to have one. Zero. There's no excuse.
Who's your biggest sleeper after 150-ish and your rankings? Like who's the one guy that's deep down and way down there that you're like, man, this year. I'm gonna make sure I have him in like around 25 every year, every league.
All right. I mean, I'm scrolling. I do have a ranking spreadsheet, so I'm just scrolling. Good sleepers. If we start at the more widely talked about. I think guys like running backs like Tariq Cohen could give you some value, and they're not really, people don't want them. Like, he could give you some PPR value. People forget about him. He had an ACL tear. Like, that's someone I think could give you a little bit of value.
But what about they just signed Damian Harris or Damian Williams?
I'm not that worried about Damian Williams.
Really? I like Damian Williams.
I like him, but I still think Tariq Cohen is going to have his passing down role. I'm more worried about Damian Williams for David Montgomery than I am for Tariq Cohen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's someone who might have some sleeper value. I mean, does Adam Troutman count as a sleeper? I think that he didn't do anything in year one. He did nothing. He did nothing, but he has opportunity on the Saints to produce as a tight end, and he's not very expensive right now. So
right.
I think that's a little on the higher side. I mean, I haven't some other guys, not Tyler Higbee because I don't like him, but Blake Jarwin. People are completely forgetting about Blake Jarwin, but we saw from Dalton Schultz's 2020 season that we were right, that we wanted the tight end in the Dallas offense. And I think Blake Jarwin is still a better player than Dalton Schultz. So Blake Jarwin is a sleeper that I like. If you want a really, really deep one, I have not completely given up on who's a good one down here. I have not completely given up on Travis Fulgham.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, we've totally forgotten about him, but he's someone I would just keep on your radar. He should remain on your dynasty roster just in case. He did flash for 5 games. It's something.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't release him. I'm not expecting much, but he's someone to keep an eye on. Also, Josh Reynolds, who just signed with the Titans this offseason.
Yeah.
They have no one there. I mean, they're probably going to draft someone in the draft, but even so, I mean, they lost both Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. Whoever they draft is not just going to replace those guys immediately. So Josh Reynolds is someone who could have some deep value.
I like Rashard Higgins. I like Tyrell Williams in Detroit this year because of their lack of competition. I like... Yeah, I mean, there's only 3 guys I kind of really this year kind of going at. Donovan Peoples-Jones is another guy that I kind of like. I don't know if he's just I don't know if he's going to pan out there.
Yeah, you named 2 guys from the same team. I wish that they were not both there. Yeah. I wish there were one of them, not Higgins and Peoples-Jones. I wish that the problem is with both of them there, it just makes me less likely to. I'll look somewhere else. That's
kind of what I liked because I figured one of those guys is going to just take the reins and go, I'm not sure which one it's going to be.
The issue is that it could be neither, and there's 2 of them. So I'm probably not going to look there. But in that vein, if you really want to get desperate, I think that Jalen Guyton showed a lot. I'm not a believer in Mike Williams at all. Jalen Guyton showed a lot as a deep threat in his rookie year. For receiver LA Chargers. We all love Justin Herbert. So if Mike Williams once again cannot stay on the field, Jalen Guyton is a really deep pull. And then, other guys I would keep on the back of my roster. JaMychal Hasty, running back, San Francisco. It's the kind of guy you want to keep around just in case. Gio Bernard, as we talked about as well. Who knows? He might provide a game or 2 of fantasy value in the Tampa Bay offense. Those are a lot of the guys that I kind of think are good guys to keep on the back end of your roster.
I had a thing for J.J. Taylor this offseason.
He was another one, but they re-signed James White. So right. He was on that list, but he really fell off. And if you want a really, really deep one, pay attention, since I don't like Tyler Higbee, pay attention to tight end Bryson Hopkins from the Rams. I think that's someone, maybe he steps into the Gerald Everett role. I don't think Tyler Higbee's very good. So they spent a 4th-round pick on him. So potentially he's someone who could step up in his 2nd year this year. So just those are some guys. There's obviously a lot of these deeper sleepers.
Sure, right. Yeah.
I think those are some good names. Mostly that are. I also think Darrington Evans, running back for the Titans, is going a little bit under the radar. He's the clear backup there. So someone I would definitely have on my dynasty roster.
I'm not a huge handcuff guy myself, but I like taking other people's handcuffs when I have the room on my roster. So he's somebody that I would definitely probably look at myself. And it depends on what they do in the draft. I don't think they're going to take any running backs. But
neither. They spent the 3rd on him. Yeah. They spent the 3rd on him. So I don't think they're going to take another running back. And he does profile as a pass catcher as well. So maybe he can find a way to get involved, complimenting Derrick Henry.
For a big guy that catches the ball like that, he could be a 3-down back. Yes.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of guys there that we named. There's always good sleepers, but there's so many of them. We could go do a whole show on that.
Yeah. Sure. All right. So most of the shows usually end with team evaluations, and I send a team to you. It's my friend Taney's team, and what we're looking at here is what are the biggest needs, what are your keep, trade, cut guys, who would you trade to improve this team, and who would you send away to do it, and is this a rebuild or remodel kind of thing? Where would you be on this team? So I'm going to put the team up on the screen so everybody can see it.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay.
And then, so let me.
Because I was scrolling to the other window to try to look at the team. So let's. We're like that. That was a little.
That was weird.
I was a little trippy there.
So here's our Dynasty Superflex PPR tight end 0.75. 10 starters, 30 total players. It's 5 for a passing touchdown, -2 for a passing interception, 6-point rushing and receiving touchdown bonuses, and some smaller accomplishment bonuses. He's got in 2021, he's got it to 110, 210, 306. In 2022, he's got 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth. And we'll just kind of go over his roster right now to look at the quarterback situations. He's got Dak Prescott, which, I'm not sure Dak Prescott is going to come out on fire like he did the first 4 games last year before he got hurt.
I love Dak.
Scott Sidlow owns Dak and Josh Allen for my team because I was in win now, and I traded Josh Allen away to get a couple picks, and then I traded. I got Justin Jefferson and somebody else out of the deal, but and then I was in win now last year when Watson got Josh Allen got hurt, when Prescott got hurt. I'm like, oh shit, I need some players. So I took Drew Brees and Michael Thomas for Dak Prescott right after he got hurt last year, just kind of in a win now team, and then they'll come into third place anyway, so it didn't even work. But it's now he's got Josh Allen and Dak Prescott as 2 of his 3 starters for his awesome rebuild team. So it is what it is. You play for the moment sometimes, and I got caught up in the moment, and it is what it is. But he's got Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, which nobody knows what's going on there. Drew Lock and Dwayne Haskins, which Lock, everybody knows his days are numbered right now. So we're not sure what's going to happen there. I mean, you can't treat him as a fantasy asset for a long future because even if he plays this year, I think will be his last year if they can't find a replacement. Haskins, I love Dwayne Haskins. I loved him coming out of Ohio State. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got a little bit of, I'm not even going to say knucklehead. I think he's a little immature. And I think a year with a good coach in Pittsburgh can kind of tell him, hey, man, here's how we grew up around here. I had a bunch of knuckleheads on this team the last couple of years. I can make you the future of this franchise if you let me. I like his package. I mean, it's like he could be Ben Roethlisberger's. He's the same as Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't move very much. He's not as big as Ben, I don't think. But you don't need a running quarterback on that team. There's so many. The way that offense is set up, you could just take Big Ben's the offensive scheme and put Dwayne right in there and succeed. I think Dwayne Haskins, if he turns the game around, he could be something. But
yeah, not for me. I think he's completely awful, and I have zero interest at all.
God, was so good in college. I don't know what happened.
I don't care. He showed in the NFL that I should not be interested in him.
So running back, he's got David Montgomery, which last year David Montgomery played the last 6 games were against the worst defenses in the league. And there was nobody else on the team besides Cordell Patterson to share carries with. So I think he's going to be back for a reality check when Montgomery comes, like you said, Tariq Cohen comes back and Damian Williams. Yeah. So Drake just tanked his fantasy value going to the Raiders this year. Nyheim Hines, I mean, he still has some kind of a role in that backfield with Jonathan Taylor, but now you're looking at Marlon Mack came back too, but who knows how Marlon Mack's going to be with that foot. We'll see what happens with that. That's a terrible injury. James White from the Patriots, Duke Johnson got cut. Nobody knows where he's going to end up yet. Benjamin just got pretty much knocked down the depth chart. Jordan Wilkins on the Colts. I don't really like.
This is a bunch of just garbage here.
Right? His wide receivers got Tyler Lockett, which you guys discussed for last week. He's a hold, not really a sell or a buy, but he's a hold if you have him. Deontay Johnson. Who knows which one of the 3 receivers is going to be the?
I like Deontay Johnson.
Everybody likes him, but I don't love him. That kind of deal. Everybody likes him, but I don't love him. Will Fuller with Miami. I think Miami drafts a number 6.
Yeah.
They draft a player that everybody else just kind of becomes irrelevant. Do you think the Dolphins are going to be taking if it comes up in their draft where they have a situation where they got to choose between Kyle Pitts and Devonta Smith? What do you think they're going to do?
Between Pitts and Smith, I think they would take Pitts.
They already have Gesicki. Oh shit!
I don't really care about Gesicki. I don't think Gesicki's very good.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Where are we at here? I'm switching around to the.
But yeah, this team is kind of a mess.
It is. After that, it's just Preston Williams, AJ Green, Tim.
Yeah, it's a bunch of nobodies. Preston Williams is worthless. AJ Green is completely washed. I mean, they have some sleepers. I mean, Travis Fulgham and Josh Reynolds, like I said, nice sleepers, but those are not people we want to rely on.
Yeah. And then Dallas Goedert, Everett Ingram, which are decent tight ends. Chris Herndon, who knows what's going to happen with him? I like his situation, but
tight end and Blake Jarwin. So tight end is not that bad. It's fine. Right. Tight end is good.
Yeah. So
everything else is not good.
So what are you doing for this team as far as? Geez, I got to learn how to use this StreamYard a little better.
What am I doing?
What are you doing with this team?
Panicking. No, like seriously, like this is bad. This team does not, I mean, you didn't list the 22 first for this team. So this team does not have its 22 first. So, and this team is going to suck because Deshaun Watson is not going to play. And if you assume that Deshaun Watson is not going to play, this team is absolutely awful. It has Dak Prescott and it has Dwayne Haskins is not a quarterback. And it has Drew Lock, who's probably about to be replaced. So yeah, this is a disaster. I mean, it has Deontay Johnson is like one of the only cornerstone assets outside of Dak Prescott. He's pretty good, but again, he's good, but he's not like a stud. I think you got to sell everything. Sell everything. I did start over because this team is complete crap. Yeah.
This guy just sent me an offer for pick 15, which is this year's what is it? He's got
203.
203, and next year's 22 second for Sam Darnold.
I will.
I'm keeping Darnold.
It's a super flex. That's fair. That's a fair price, but I'm probably holding the quarterback knowing that he needs one badly. Is also, that's what this guy is doing. That is not what he should be doing. This guy should be panicking. This guy's screwed. Essentially, his team is a disaster. He's in for years of hurt, especially if Deshaun Watson never comes back. Because that's the kind of loss in fantasy that you can't recover from. Right. Like, remember what happened when Andrew Luck just straight up retired? Anyone who lost him on their roster in that way was screwed.
He was pegged as a quarterback one in almost everybody's roster who owned him, yes.
Yeah, so you essentially just lost it all. And I think that's what's happened to this guy. With Deshaun Watson, this team is not a contender. It's fine. I mean, with Deshaun Watson, the team starts with Prescott and Watson. And if you start with Prescott and Watson in Superflex, you can at least try.
Yeah.
I still don't think it's very good because it doesn't have a single stud outside of the quarterback position. I mean, the best player outside of the quarterback position is David Montgomery.
Right.
That is not a winning dynasty team. You don't win with David Montgomery as your running back one and Deontay Johnson as your wide receiver one and Dallas Goedert as your best tight end. That does not win championships. That will not win. So he's going to be stuck in the middle. What I would do here is I would just start over. I would sell David Montgomery for whatever I could get. I could sell I'd like some picks in this year or 2022. I'd sell Tyler Lockett because this team is not going to contend in time for Tyler Lockett. Like, I just think that this team is about to go through 2 or 3 years of pain. Like, I think we're going to go through 2021 of losing, 2022 of losing. Like, that's what this team needs to do. They need to rip everything to shreds and focus on accumulating value over the next 2 years. I hate to say it, but there's just no other way. They don't have a high first in this year's draft. There's no way to replace Watson at quarterback. They have no option.
So I've got Sam Darnold, and he's probably my quarterback 5 on the team I have. So if that being the case, and this guy wants Sam Darnold now, and he's offering picks, but he still thinks he's contending, what should I offer? What should I, say, hey, I'll give you Sam Darnold, but what would I think I'd like –
you said he had the 110?
Yes.
I think I'd like – if you gave me the 110 straight up, I think I'm looking at this class, right? We're in a super flex tight end premium here. So I'm looking at this class. You're telling me, I'm just reading down. I'll read down my rookie rankings. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Kyle Pitts, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Mac Jones. You're telling me I'm getting one of those 10 players. I want all of those 10 players significantly above Sam Darnold, especially if he's my QB5.
Right.
So Yeah, I would just ask for the 110. And if you get the 110, I'd turn Sam Darnold into the 110 in a loaded quarterback class with, generational tight end prospect, good receivers. I mean, I'd be doing like you can see what I'm doing here. I'd be doing like a party dance if I turned Sam Darnold into the 110. So that's what I would do if I were you.
Okay, Sam Darnold's going to turn into Mac Jones, probably, because that's the only quarterback that's going to be left maybe at 110.
Well, I mean, but I would prefer to have Mac Jones. I'd prefer to start over. Like I said earlier, why wouldn't you prefer to start over? Mac Jones is going to be a top 10 pick. And wouldn't you rather start over? But what if it's not Mac Jones? What if someone takes Mac Jones earlier? You said he was your QB5. What if you turned?
No, he's my QB3.
Oh.
He's my QB3.
Well, who else do you have a quarterback?
I'm talking about. Oh, we were talking about rankings. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I have Tannehill and I have what the hell's hold on, I gotta go to my team. I know I have Tannehill. Sorry about that. Sorry about the delay here.
It's all good.
I have Tannehill, Mayfield, Jared Goff. I think, I think Goff is kind of like, as far as I have Justin Herbert and
Darnold.
No, I don't need Darnold, but I'm one of those John Ho got it in my head when I need 18 quarterbacks.
Just get it out of your head. Take the 110. Like, this is, if you can get the 110 from him and for Sam Darnold, do a cartwheel.
I held Sam Darnold for 3 years. I'm like, he's about to break out in this Carolina team. That's going to be awesome.
I don't care. You got to get the value. Sam Darnold is not worth the 110. He's worth less.
What if Sam Darnold goes out there and he just starts burning the league apart? Let's just say for the first couple games, because of the fact that he gets dumped off to Christian McCaffrey, he's got DJ Moore. Come on. If he does that, he's going to be worth so much more than a 110.
But this is how, this is Dynasty. Like, you got to take the value at the time. Like, you don't play what if. Like, if you did everything, look, we're all going to make a lot of trades we regret, right? Yeah. If you play with fear, you're not going to succeed. Like, you're going to be afraid. And Sam Darnold is worth less than the 110. So if you can get the 110 for Sam Darnold, you should, go do cartwheels. That's what I would suggest.
What if I took that pick 15 and a 22 second or 22 second round pick, and I asked for, let's just say, his one of his tight ends. Let's just say Blake Jarwin. It's just a tight end premium 1.75.
Jarwin doesn't do enough for me. I want the 110. It's so much better in this class. That's the tier break in this class.
Yeah,
it's 110. If it were 111, I wouldn't do it. But since it's 110, I want to do it because I listed the 10 prospects earlier that I want. So if I can get 110 for Sam Darnold, I'm guaranteed to get a player that I'm far happier with.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, this one's kind of an easy one. I mean, you got off on the hook. He's got to tell
everything, and he's not going to – I can tell by what he's doing that he is not going to listen to me. He is going to keep trying to contend. He's going to fail, and then he's going to be in for 4 years of rebuilding instead of 2. So that's what he's going to do. And if you're listening to this podcast, don't do that. The worst place in Dynasty to be is in the middle. If you're in this team and you can't get to the top, go to the bottom first. If you go to the bottom first, that's how you get back to the top. You can't just ride in the middle. It won't work. Trust me.
Yeah, the problem is in this league, there's 2 guys who came in the league full well knowing that Dynasty Fantasy Football is develop rookie picks, and they drafted players and sold them all for. So there's like 2 or 3 guys who have pretty much almost all. I saw all my draft picks instantaneously for players. I think I got DeAndre Swift for 2022 first. I got
that's very good. I would have done that.
I got Justin Jefferson for I think it was like a 2020. Anyway, I think it was like 2 seconds and a other player that was pretty good, I think, as far as that goes. But I got lucky with Jefferson, and that was something I just had kind of a notion that I wanted him. I wanted him at the 109 last year, 107 or 108 last year, and I didn't get him.
That was a good pick.
So, but anyway, real fast, as long as you're on here, like my team, I have Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hockenson, Chris Godwin.
I think you're in pretty good shape.
Antonio Gibson, and then I got my quarterbacks, and then I got
How is that possible? That
Darrell
you're in
Henry.
very good shape here. I wouldn't be too concerned at this point.
Yeah, no, I love my team.
Also love your team.
I got DJ Moore and Miles Sanders on my bench.
Yeah, so hearing that tells me that this is almost one of those cases where this guy is so screwed that I'm kind of like, I feel bad because like, what advice am I going to give him? That like I hate this, right? Because it's gotten to the point like with this team that you've shown me that I think that this team is just in for years of failure. And it's kind of like, it gets to a point where it's like, it's starting with very few usable assets. And like he has Dak. I mean, he should probably sell Dak at this point because he has to. Like he has to extract maximum value, try to get a haul for Dak or something. But like, I don't know. It's just I feel bad. Like if this guy is not a serious dynasty player, he has no hope of rebuilding this team. So
I don't feel bad at all because I go for a jugular every time. Like I really don't care. I'll step on your face.
No. I don't
like
feel bad as you. If I were his opponent, I wouldn't feel bad even in the slightest. But I feel bad as like a dynasty advice giver here because like my advice to him, as bad as this is like if he's really not a serious dynasty player, I don't think he's going to have fun with this team.
Right.
So, like, my advice would be, like, you might want to consider leaving this league and giving this team to someone very experienced who's willing to handle this. Because, like, unless you're really active, because this team is just in such bad shape, personally. It's just the way it's set up, especially with Watson, is just kind of it's brutal. And right. I don't see, like, a future because he traded away all of his future picks. So right. He's left himself like completely screwed.
Yeah.
And if the picks are as concentrated with a couple of rosters as you say, and they're difficult to get back, I don't know what advice I would give him. Like right. He has to get those picks back, but if he can't, he's just screwed.
Right.
And that sucks. Right.
It does suck. All right. Well, that being said, I really appreciate you being out here today. This is
no problem. This was a awesome marathon. I did a 2.5-hour show earlier, and we beat that. We beat that length. We beat that. We're at 2 hours and 50 minutes right now.
So that means like 4 people in the world are going to listen to the show. They're going to see 2 hours and 40 minutes and be like, get out of it. But it's off season. A lot of people aren't doing podcasts.
We were live at least. We were live. So at least people had the opportunity to tune in live at the very least.
And we had 15 minutes of us having a good time.
True, yeah.
So it was, I mean, it could have been way longer, but
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know, just one more time, tell everybody where they can meet you, where they can find you on the Twitter machine and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll plug it again at DLF_Karp on the Twitter. Everything's on there. You can find all my articles for DLF, my podcast, The Dynasty Duo with CJ Kraus he's at Kid Flash FF. And you can also find my Patreon is in my pin post on my Twitter. So it's all there.
Well, thanks for listening. For all you people out there who do listen to this marathon episode, this is what I do for fun while trying to keep in tune with the fantasy football world. And the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast is what I do for fun while making new friends and making sure that I get laughs with great people. And I had a lot of laughs today. And just I guess my out of this podcast thing is just make sure that your home is always too small to hold all your friends. That's kind of I
love that.
So, all right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you later.